Welcome to Manhwa Recaps, spoilers ahead, watch out, and take care. Huge shout out and special thanks to the channel members. The manhwa starts by explaining that according to a legend passed down in the martial arts world, the spirit of a master who had grasped the truth of the world and was on the verge of reaching the summit, was said to seek someone to inherit the great task they left unfinished and guide them to the summit. We hear a man saying that he once thought it was just another absurd tale, but now he believes it, as we see a whole group of martial artists staring at him. He smiles, and we are introduced to the next head of the fire dragon sect, Baek. He slices the first guy down and slowly walks forward. We see one of the martial artists, called the Ghost Sword, paralyzed in fear. He goes to scream some monologue but instantly gets deleted by Muryong with one swing from his blade. He cut both the man's sword and head clean off, and he explains that he believes the story from that ancient legend, because the spirit had actually chosen him. He readies his blade as a red aura begins to envelop him, and he says that he will stand at the pinnacle of this world as he leaves the aftermath of the war. At least that should have been the case, as some time later, we see his hands have been wrinkled, and he wonders why the spirit has stopped guiding him. A man calls out to him, and we see he is now the head of the Fire Dragon sect and the leader of the Blood Demon sect. The man continues calling out for him, saying that they have finally succeeded, telling him to please look at this, as we see him holding a potion and a kid kneeling on the ground. He says this is the first survivor of the immortal body experiment. The boy says that he ruined his family, and he will never forgive him, and the man tells him to be quiet as he tugs on the boy's collar. The boy's face is deformed as well, looking a little fugly. The dude is barking at him, asking who gave him the right to speak, calling him an outsider, and he asks Muryong if he sees that, unlike the other subjects, this one can even talk. They put fentanyl in his shit. He says that he can even survive weeks without a single drop of water or food. Muryong tells him this is enough, saying he endured for years to achieve a result, since all he has created is a twisted monster, and fools like him can never reach the true summit. He slowly starts to walk towards the man, and the man starts to beg for more time, saying that he will make sure to complete the immortal body. Muryong begins to cough, and then the man's hands begin to tense up as he starts to uncork a potion in front of him. He wonders what's going on because his body is moving on its own as he starts to chug it. He drops the potion to the floor, causing it to break, and we see his body slowly starting to mutate, and he begs for Muryong to spare him. While Muryong continues to scream, we see the boy looking down at the broken shards of glass while Muryong sits there holding onto the wall while coughing up blood. He looks down at it in his hand and asks the spirit why he won't answer him anymore. He then looks up at the moon, saying that he knows they are still within him, and he pleads with them to reveal the secret of immortality, as he needs the immortal body technique. The spirit then calls him foolish, saying that the immortal body technique is already complete. As Muryong feels a gaze behind him, it's none other than the boy leaping at him for a surprise attack. Muryong catches it in time and stops the boy with his aura, saying there's no way, asking if this is the case and that the spirit has chosen this boy as a vassal. The boy continues saying that he'll curse Muryong even in hell. Muryong says even after everything he's accomplished in his place, including the great task, he still plans to betray him. The spirit asks what he means by saying the great task has been accomplished, saying he still doesn't even see the truth of the world, calling him pitiful, saying he'll let him see it. Then we are taken to the inside of Muryong's eyes as he sees something that cannot truly be perceived in this world as it shatters through dimensions, something akin to a deity. Muryong falls to the floor screaming, asking if this is really the truth of the world and if his strength only amounts to so little after witnessing such the gap in their power. While he's lost in thought, we see blood flying through the air as the little boy is just stabbing the absolute hell out of his throat over and over, and the spirit asks him if he hates the world for ruining his family. Then we see a red mist pouring out of the kid's head, and the spirit says that he'll take care of it. All of the soldiers on guard look up towards it and wonder what's going on. As they can see the aura and their master's corpse laying on the floor with a giant red cloud, they see the fog shooting out of the kid's head. The men all raise their weapons and say that they need to take care of the intruder immediately and run in. The spirit tells the boy in return for his help, he must crush every stronghold in this world and attain their power. The boy turns towards them and begins to smile as the spirit tells him that it should let nothing and no one stand above him. It jumps to a bit later as we see the soldiers dead on the ground, and that the boy's face has been healed somewhat. The spirit tells him that there will be a day when they will rise to the summit, as the boy walks away from the massacre as we see the sword still in his body. It then jumps to an old man telling his family that he'll be back later, and his son tells him to take care of himself. The old man begins to walk through the woods, even heading up some mountains in the moonlight. Finally, Reaching a secluded stronghold far from everybody else, he opens the doors and begins to walk forward. As we see, there are other people actually waiting for him, and he tells them that it has been a while. We are introduced to a man named the Fist King, Yukbai, who says it indeed has. Also, the Northern Empress, Jin Sholhi, and she's just surprised that they summoned the old man. There's also a monk from the Shaolin Temple, Abbot Hyun, who doesn't say anything. Then we are introduced to the current leader of the Fire Dragon sect, Baek Muryong, who says that he greets the Sword Emperor and he trusts that everything has been well with him. This is a descendant of Baek Jaeun. The old man says that he's tired of the meaningless chatter, asking if they thought that he wouldn't notice the spy tailing him ever since he left the martial world. They better hurry up and explain why they had to bring in this old man. Muryong says very well then, and he'll skip the formalities and focus on the main issue. He says that the Wu Dang, the Zhong Nan, and the Hua Shan, and countless other prominent sects were all annihilated by a single master, and they know nothing about his motives or identity except that he is facing them all alone. Those who have faced him describe him as a demon obsessed with fighting and call him the Mad Demon. We get a wider view of where they are, which is where he was turned into an immortal at the start. Then some footsteps begin walking forward as it's none other than the boy from earlier, who has grown significantly, and Muryong continues saying that today they will end the Mad Demon once and for all. The door gets kicked wide open, and the boy says after chasing that powerful energy, he has arrived at a familiar place, and looking at how the 5 great leaders have all gathered here, it seems like all of them were waiting for this moment. They all begin to wonder if maybe that is him. The old man says that the title Mad Demon wasn't an exaggeration, as it feels as if he is in front of the god of death. The old man says in that case and begins to unsheath his sword while emanating hella killing intent, saying that he alone is enough reason for this old man to wield his sword once more. The boy seems surprised, but while he's distracted, the old man dashes forward using an ability called the Sword of Celestial Grace. Instantly closing the gap, swinging towards the boy's head. He follows it up with a technique called Heavenly Sword First Strike, which is a lot more than which absolutely obliterates the boy, leaving his limbs scattered throughout the air. The old man then sheathes his sword immediately while exhaling, and everybody else just stands there witnessing what just happened. Yukbai tells the old man to take it easy, saying it's too boring for it to end like this, and that he warned them all before that all of this talk about the Mad Demon is nonsense, but he sees they all have a different expression and he wonders what's with their reactions. Then we hear the boy saying that this is way beyond his expectations while trying to hold back his laughter. Yukbai is immediately surprised, wondering what the hell he is looking at as both the boy's body begins to regenerate, pulling itself together, and he starts to sweat nervously, wondering if he is maybe dreaming. Muryong says that there's no way, wondering if that is the legendary martial art said to grant immortality, aka the immortal body technique, which is something that his family sought after. After the boy has completely regained himself, he says that was quite impressive, and that now it's his turn to have some fun. Yukbai yells asking the old man what he's doing, saying that he needs to get away from him, as the old man is not moving, but the boy tells him that he shouldn't be worrying about the old dude as we see the old man is actually coughing up hella blood, and the boy says that he's already had his fun with him as his entire front side is cut open, and that is why he's kneeling. Then he falls over into a pool of his own blood. The boy begins walking forward, asking him who's next. Sholhi tells Muryong to calm down, saying as the head of the Fire Dragon sect, surely he must know something about this. He says that he's not too sure, but he's definitely seen it in the ancient books. Yukbai just looks like the situation hasn't truly sunk in on him as he stares at the old man's corpse. He starts to feel mixed emotions of rage and fear. Muryong realizes that he's losing his temper, but it's too late as Yukbai shatters the floor beneath him, dashing forward. Muryong tries to tell him to wait, but Yukbai is already charging up an attack directly in the Mad Demon's face, saying that he will avenge the old man. The boy realizes this must be the Fist King and takes his attack called Explosive Fist Gale directly to the face. As his skin starts to disintegrate, he says that he wouldn't expect any less from the title. Outside of the Fire Dragon Sex Temple, we see a giant explosion followed by a beam that breaks the sound barrier multiple times. Muryong says the martial art of the Fist King is truly incredible, but there's just no way that would be enough to defeat him, as we see the boy has already regenerated, and Yukbai wonders how he can still be alive after he was directly hit. We see that the boy has actually blocked his fist and that he's getting stronger with every minute. The boy says that he acknowledges it as a truly magnificent martial art and taps on his chest, and he tells him that he'll make sure to receive it well. Yukbai realizes what's happening, but it's too late as he gets hit with his own attack, the Explosive Fist Gale. We see he actually lived the attack, and he says there's no way, as Abbot Hyun stands before him, as he used his arms to tank the blow, crying tears of blood. The boy calls out to him, telling him that it's not his turn yet. Abbot Hyun tells him to stop acting so cocky and calls him a fool, and the boy can't help but laugh at him, saying that for somebody who says that, it seems like he's the one struggling quite a lot, as he's barely even standing. Yukbai apologizes to him, but Abbot Hyun tells him not to say such things, because if he had not stepped in, he would have instead, and that they should deal with the monster before worrying about such trivial matters. The boy starts to think about it, saying that if he has a body that can withstand the martial art of the Fist King, his body must be indestructible, as he leaps forward, wanting to consume his martial art. Sholhi tells him to stop messing around and imbues her sword with ice, stabbing the boy directly in the back, freezing him, his hands just shy of Abbot Hyun's face. The boy says this must be the martial art of the Northern Sea Ice Palace that he's only heard about, and Sholhi tells him to shut up. The boy starts to laugh, saying that it really is terribly cold, as it froze even his bones, and that the 5 masters of the world truly live up to their names. All of them possess martial arts that have reached the pinnacle, and he really likes it. Muryong starts to walk up, saying he's glad that he likes them, and he'll let him witness the martial art of the leader of the Fire Dragon sect, as wind begins to fly around him. He immediately swings forward, slicing through the boy, but the boy looks down, confused, asking if that was really all it was, because it seemed ineffective. Muryong says that he will be forever trapped in darkness. Before the boy can realize what's happening, a lot of talismans start wrapping around him, and now he understands that his body is being confined. He starts to yell, asking what's going on and what he has done to him, as they completely wrap his body up tightly, akin to a mummy. The boy says that his whole body is starting to lose strength, with his remaining energy, screaming loudly, and then Sholhi's eyes, which are full of fear, then switch to that of relief, as we see the boy has been completely mummified. Abbot Hyun's confused and he says that he's never heard or seen of such a martial art, asking him what he's done. Muryong says that it is the Eclipsing Blade, a treasure passed down to the leaders of the Fire Dragon sect, and those cut by the sword are said to spend an eternity in darkness. However, there are no records of it being used, therefore, nobody knows how long it will last, and they should always be prepared. It then jumps to the boy behind a glass wall as it has been a whole 3,000 years later, and he is now a piece of cargo being transported onto a sci-fi ship. Who the hell saw this coming? He's at a place called the Endurance, and it is the year 2600 on the planet GSP, specifically Zone 3. A man from the Earth promotion team named Mark introduces himself, telling everybody to be careful with the exhibits because they are actually fragile. One of the men asked if he's the only one from the advanced team, and he says no, there's actually one more person, and he turns around pointing her out, saying that she's with him as well. He wonders where she's going alone without saying anything as we see her walking over to a door. She starts to take off her glasses, saying that she's finally arrived on this damn planet, and we are introduced to the team leader named Lena. Mark starts to call out her name over and over while waving at her. She asks if he's here to have fun, and why he's so excited. He says that until the main team arrives, they don't have much to do, and that this is pretty much a vacation. She sighs, saying he's pretty bold, and he says that he didn't expect her to volunteer to join the GSP team. She asks what he means, and he says that if someone like her, who usually shudders at the thought of aliens, suddenly volunteers to go to a place where all of the aliens in the universe gather, it's only natural to be curious. Pretty cool spin on the Murim genre in my opinion. As they walk through a crowd of aliens, he says there are species here which can't even be found back on Earth. No shit, Sherlock. Lena tells him to stop fooling around, saying it's still dangerous, and he says that things are much different now, and during the tournament, everybody is on equal footing. She looks up towards some of the aliens, saying she wonders if they think the same way and says that he should, and then she starts to have a thought about how complacent they are. As she turns around, she sees Mark actually has a bunch of stuff from street vendors already, and she immediately turns around, disappointed, saying that he should just stay in the exhibition hall. He asks why, and she asks if he really wants to be around all these creepy-ass aliens. He says that comments like that can be dangerous even if they're on equal footing. She tells him that it's precisely dangerous because they are not equal, and then sighs once more, asking him what a newbie would even know. He says it's not about being aliens, and if you call someone disgusting, anybody would get mad, but she cuts him off, saying that they have finally arrived. Now this is where they truly rise to an equal position with those guys as we were introduced to the GSP tournament arena. And a man starts to yell, welcoming everybody from across the universe, saying this is the greatest cosmic festival, that is held once every 100 years event, a place of opportunity where the level of each civilization can be instantly elevated, and he welcomes them all to the GSP fighting tournament. Mark asks Lena if she actually came here to watch the tournament but covered it up with that she only came to visit. She says that she came here to find the weaknesses of the enemies, and he just wonders what the hell she is yapping about. We are introduced to two contestants, one of them being a part of the Ifrit civilization named Agni, who is ranked 972nd in the civilization rankings, and his opponent is a man, Panin from the Piglo civilization, ranked 9630th. And the announcer yells, trying to hype the crowd up, saying that they are now going to begin the preliminaries for Group 6. Back at the Z District Planet Promotional Hall, where all the exhibits are being displayed, we see the guy from earlier as his boss tells him to wrap it up. As he walks past the mad demon, he hears a strange sound and gets confused. He then looks around, and the guy asks him what he's doing, and he asks his boss if he didn't just hear that. His boss says the only thing he hears is him being a dumbass, and while the guy sits there wondering if he misheard something, we see the mad demon actually open his eyes, gauging the room. We get a more in-depth explanation about how the planet GSP is 500,000 light-years away from Earth. It also holds a combat tournament every 100 years featuring various civilizations from all over the universe. In this tournament, the civilization that emerges victorious is said to attain the truth of things and be liberated from all negative effects such as diseases, hunger, and war. The proud government of the unified Earth, the GU, has officially qualified to participate in this tournament. The contestant representing their GU is known to be the strongest on Earth, and they believe reaching the finals to be easy, even securing the championship is not far-fetched. Back to the arena, the announcers start saying indeed they truly live up to the name of the living flame species because, as soon as the restraints were released, the entire arena was engulfed in intense flames. We see Mark and Lena watching. Panin is clearly having a rough time saying that he lives up to his name of living flame. Agni starts to charge forward saying that he's going to burn him to a crisp. We see he is way bigger than earlier. The crowd starts to chant, and someone says that they went all in on him. The announcer says that the excitement from the audience is as intense as contestant Agni's flames, and that he is hella popular. Panin hears them all chanting and looks over towards his side. Agni asks him how dare he look away while facing him. Panin turns as he didn't expect the gap to be closed so quickly, but perhaps it's too late as Agni spews a fire breath hitting Panin directly. The announcer says that Agni's breath is known to melt even the sturdiest of ships. As we see Panin eating the attack, Mark looks a bit grossed out, whereas Lena is lost in thought. Agni starts to laugh, asking if they all saw his power, calling them fools. Mark asks how the hell they're supposed to fight a monster like that. Lena starts to think about it, and Mark asks her if they're really going to keep searching for its weakness, saying that he doesn't think it's going to be of use. She says it might indeed not change much, but she says it's not just that. She also feels terrible, but she's realized something very important. None of the aliens belonging to Tier 3 or higher are focused on this match at all. Since the tournament could completely change the fate of the entire civilization, she thought that there would be different reactions. It seems that a Tier 1 civilization like them is insignificant in their eyes, and they'll use that arrogance as their weapon to fight back. If Mark understands, they should continue searching for their weaknesses and plan it out. He says that's not what he means, and he just wonders why them, as the promotion team, has to do it. Right beside them, we see a little kid screaming, telling Panin he can't lose. Mark notices them cheering Panin on with all their hearts. He recognizes that it's somebody else from the Piglo species as the child starts to cry. He says unfortunately their civilization had bad luck with the matchups. The opponent is among the top rankers of Tier 3 civilizations, as we're starting to see the aftermath of the attack. As we see, Panin is nowhere to be seen after the attack. Then we see a little bald kid telling the announcer to call the fight, saying that trash probably turned into ash by now and got blown away in the wind. Mark sighs, saying that there was another dangerous one nearby and he needs to inform Lena and move away from here. But the child from the Piglo species walks up, calling out to the bald kid, saying that he shouldn't talk about Panin when he doesn't know anything about him. The kid is straight chugging alcohol and sighs, maybe it's a little person. And he says that this little one has no manners at all, as expected of a lowly species. The little kid tells him that he's also a little one, calling him a brat. Mark tells Lena they should get out of here quickly because they're gonna get caught up in some shit they shouldn't. The kid's head veins start to bulge like crazy. And he calls out to the little kid and asks if they want to see something interesting. The kid's face immediately turns to horror as Baldy says that he's actually considered quite normal on his planet, as he starts increasing in size. Mark tells Lena that she needs to wake up as it's really dangerous here, as the kid is on all of the SARMs under the sun, He says that even somebody like him could turn her planet's representative into a bloody mess within 10 seconds, as he is a representative of the Pixie cult civilization, which is ranked 1300, and he is an engineer named Mr. Picky. Lena asks if it's really that impressive to boast his strength to a child. Mr. Picky asks her what she means, turning his attention towards her. Lena says that he just said he was considered quite normal on his planet and should stop acting cocky. And the way he talks makes it obvious that he's just a complete loser. Mr. Picky asks if they put fentanyl in the water, since they're all pissing him off. Mark asks if he's not included while sweating nervously, and Lena asks Mr. Picky what he can even do, calling him a loser once more. Mr. Picky starts to walk forward, saying that he'll make her regret that, and Mark tries to tell Lena to get away as he's misunderstood everything since she's with him, and she asks if he's trying to abandon his team leader. Mr. Picky immediately closes the gap, saying he'll show them right now, and they both turn to see him as he's rearing his fist back for an attack. A drone appears right behind him as Mark's life flashes before his eyes and tells him to stop. Mr. Picky turns, sweating nervously, wondering why it had to interrupt him, and Lena says that is a security drone that patrols the area, and with so many of them patrolling, these guys can't do anything inside of the stadium. The drone asks Lena if the Pixie has caused them any harm, and she starts to think about it while laughing, saying that it's not that he directly harmed anyone, but he suddenly started showing off his muscles because he might be drinking, and because of that, she suffered so much that she lost her appetite, but it's alright. The drone asks Mr. Picky if what she is saying is true, and Lena starts to openly mock him, saying that he was just showing off his rugged physique to a tier 1 civilization like themselves, asking why he doesn't try the same thing to the drone. He starts to grit his teeth out of anger, asking how dare she do this to him, and Mark asks her why she is taunting him, saying that his eyes are about to pop out of his head. Lena tells Mark that telling the truth will conclude this with him being released without any consequences, which is why she is saying this as it's her way of punishing him. Mr. Picky notices something as he sees a name tag on Mark's chest and where he's from. The drone asks if he really just wanted to show off his useless muscles that much. Mr. Picky smiles, saying that's right, he just wanted to show off a little bit, and immediately transforms back to being little, saying that it means he didn't do anything wrong, and he waves, calling them pests, saying that he'll see them again later. Mark says that he hopes to God he doesn't see that freak again, and asks Lena if she expected this, and she says of course, asking if he thinks she's crazy enough to mess around with a monster like that without thinking twice, saying that she thought that her phobia of aliens came back. The little kid then tugs on Lena, thanking her for helping just now, and her face looks hella pissed, and she asks why she thinks she helped her, telling her to get lost as she's distracting her. Mark shakes his head, saying as he thought, she must have just suddenly lost her temper, and he pats the little kid's head, saying that she should go back to her family. She brushes his hand off, calling him a coward, saying not to touch her, and then she bows to Lena once more before leaving, and Mark wonders why she's only acting mean towards him, and Lena repeats her saying that he should shut up, calling him a coward. All of the aliens start chanting, asking Panon why he's hiding, telling him to show himself. I guess the fight isn't over. The announcer is also watching in anticipation. Lena says that she expected it, but the gap between a tier 3 civilization is really disheartening. Agni starts to laugh, saying it's been so long since he's played hide and seek, and Lena really wonders if there's no way for Earthlings to win against such a monster. We start to get flashbacks to when she was a little kid, and we see a lot of humans suffering in front of her from some kind of pathogen, and she's crying while in a hazmat suit. She immediately covers her mouth, saying that she must not have any weak thoughts anymore, and Mark wonders why she's acting like this and asks if she's okay since she's trembling, and she says that it's nothing that he should worry about. The announcer then yells, saying it looks like the fight is actually going to continue as Panon has shown himself. Lena's face looks completely shocked as Panon jumps out of the flames from Agni's head, aka his blind spot. We see half of his face has been actually melted off, and he lands an attack right on the back of Agni, knocking him straight into the floor. Lena watches anxiously, wondering if the attack was even effective as Mark is yapping away on his phone, and the announcer says that it seems like Agni can't get up at all. Mark calls out to her, and Lena asks why he keeps calling to her, saying that she said she's okay. He says that it's not about that and that something went wrong with the exhibit they brought, and they want her to go check it out right away. As they start heading back, she says that she told him to double check the exhibits, and he says that he's pretty sure he did. She says that she knew something would go wrong the moment he started talking about the vacation and seemed excited. As they're talking and walking through the room, we see Mr. Picky hiding behind a corner, and Mark says this is strange, and there should be no issues. And Lena says it's whatever, as she's seen everything she wanted to, and that surely he was paying attention as well, and she couldn't believe it. She never thought that Panon would actually win against that monster, and as expected, they aren't some opponents they can't defeat. While she's talking, Mark gets absolutely decked by Mr. Picky, and when she turns wondering what's with the wind, he grabs onto the back of her head. We hear a loud thud, then it jumps to the promotion center on Z Street. Lena's eyes start to slowly open as she has a really bad headache, and she sees Mark being dragged away by a pixie, and that he's completely unconscious. She still hasn't grasped the situation, as things happen too quickly, and she starts to yell, telling Mark to wake up. Mr. Picky starts to laugh, saying that he is glad she's awake, and his buddy asks if she's talking about this guy as he dangles Mark. Mr. Picky says that she shouldn't worry, as he hasn't killed him yet. She tells him to let her go, asking if he's that mad that she teased him a bit. Asking if he really doesn't have the ability to learn, saying that this is GSP and the security team will be deployed soon. His friend asks how dare a lowly member of a Tier 1 civilization talk to them, and tells her that most of the security devices on this planet are based on their civilization's technology, and he's already taken care of the devices in this building. Mr. Picky then starts poking her forehead, asking if she finally understands, saying that the Galactic Federation is not what it used to be and shouldn't accept incompetent fools like this. She then asks what he means by accepting and yells, telling him to shut up, saying that they didn't want to join this federation in the first place, but they barged into Earth. As we see some kind of deity appearing, making a contract with a president, she says that they were forced to join, and because of the infectious disease that they brought to Earth, billions of Earthlings are dying in pain from it, as we see their bodies eating itself from the inside out. She says that even after all of this damn Federation always yaps about how the interference between civilizations is not allowed, but they have yet to even show the slightest bit of support to them. Mr. Picky and his buddy are speechless for a second and then immediately start laughing hella loud at her, asking if she truly understands that she's just saying her civilization is screwed, and if she thinks the Federation is some kind of charity organization, and mocks her, asking if there's really such a primitive civilization struggling with infectious diseases still. Mr. Picky says that he thought primitive beings like that were only found in museums by now. As they enter the room, Mr. Picky's buddy asks who's in here, and we hear a familiar voice saying he wondered which sect dared to bring him here, asking if it was them, and he guesses that the Shaolin Temple indeed has some reputation in the martial world, but says that their interior has changed drastically and that this is so extravagant that he would believe it is a private room in a large inn. He's confused because they're bald. Main character. Lena immediately recognizes him as an Earthling, and Mr. Picky's friend starts walking towards the mad demon, telling him to use the common language, and Lena realizes they can't understand it. The mad demon asks what he's talking about, asking if it's really not just the interior decoration that has changed, and Lena realizes that he can't speak Mr. Picky's language either, and says that this is for the better, and she yells to him, saying that he needs to go right now and report to the security team, as these guys are trying to break the Federation's regulations. But before she can finish her sentence, Mr. Picky slams her head straight into the floor, asking if she wants to die already. The mad demon starts to laugh, saying he understands now and that not everyone has changed, as he stretches his hand out. He touches Mr. Picky's friend, and he wonders what's going on. Immediately, the mad demon follows it by using the Vortex Wind Fist. He dashes forward through his bald friend, low-key training him, annihilating the both of them. It was so fast that we see Mr. Picky's hand still holding on to Lena, and it drops to the ground before his body could even realize that he was dead. The mad demon starts to laugh, telling her that she should stop getting flustered, saying surely she understands his words. She nods and is still completely confused, and he says that he has a lot of questions, and if she tries to run away for no reason, that he will kill her on the spot as he drops Mr. Picky's head directly in front of her. She asks what he means by questions, and he stares at her, confused, wondering if maybe her brain is smooth. Lena continues asking how he did that just now, and he calls out to her while tapping her forehead, saying that if she values her life, she should speak clearly. She remembers that he can't speak the common language, and he tells her to first explain where they are. In Korean, she tells him that this is the promotional building in Street Z. He's confused, asking if this really isn't the Shaolin Temple as she looks down at Mr. Picky's corpse. The mad demon says that the energy radiating here is certainly different from that of the Shaolin. That the atmosphere inside is way too noisy for it to be a temple of those bald monks. Lena looks up at him, wondering what he is. As we see, the mad demon is still trying to comprehend what's going on. She says that based on the language he speaks and his appearance, he is clearly a human and it doesn't seem like he has any special devices, asking what the hell that explosion was just now. He grabs onto her hair, asking if she's crazy and why she keeps touching his body. She brushes his hand away, saying that she's asking what his identity is, telling him to state his affiliation. He asks what she means by identity, saying there's no way she doesn't know who he is. She says, of course not, asking how she's meant to know that. Then she asks him if he's some kind of celebrity but gets cut off. Something surprises her, and she yells, telling him to turn around. As we see, Baldy actually lived. Dude looks hella pissed, asking how dare a lowly creature do this, and the mad demon sighs, saying that this is getting irritating. The pixie comes in with a punch directly towards the mad demon, and he raises up his hand, asking what his deal is. He deflects the pixie's attack very easily, which surprises him. He says that they're all just big brutes without any use of their bodies, hitting him straight in the gut. The mad demon asks if they are not training their internal energy and then blasts the absolute piss out of him and sends him flying. Lena is still trying to process this, asking how he blocked that with a single hand. The mad demon asks her once more if she really doesn't know who he is. She wonders if maybe he's famous on Earth, saying that with this strength, it would be strange for people not to know about him. She says that she's sorry, but she doesn't know much about Earth since she spends most of her time on other planets. He asks what she means by Earth and other planets, telling her to explain it to him. She says it's as she said, she doesn't have much time to spend on Earth due to work. We see Mark finally up from sleepy time, and he calls out to Lena, asking her what is going on here. The mad demon asks where these weaklings keep coming from. Mark gets annoyed by the stray, and asks Lena who he is. Lena asks if he doesn't know either, and Mark asks if he's meant to be somebody famous. Lena says it doesn't seem like it, and Mark asks her to explain what happened. Lena says that she appreciates him saving her, but it's going to be hard to cooperate if he doesn't reveal his identity. The mad demon starts to laugh, asking how dare she threaten him and that he'll personally tell her about himself. He introduces himself as the great demon Ma Jinwoo. He is the one who destroyed the 4 great sects. They both stare at him, wondering why that shit was so cringy. Mark wonders what's the deal with the childish setting a name. He tells Lena that he doesn't think this guy is in his right mind. Lena says that she doesn't understand what his name means, but it does sound extraordinary and that this might be a good chance. Mark can't believe she's buying this shit. The pixie from before finally makes his way back as he slams his hand into the ground, and we see that he's crawling, asking how the hell he lost to that trash. Mark is on alert now that he sees a pixie and wonders if it's all because of what happened earlier. The pixie starts to grit his teeth, saying if only he didn't have this stupid suppressor on. Mark says that it looks like bro is going to explode, and Lena calls out to Jinwoo, asking if he thinks he can beat that guy in his current state. Mark asks what she's yapping about, saying that they need to run away. Jinwoo says that that means he wasn't using his full power just now, and he starts to laugh. Lena says that's right as he wasn't even using half of his strength. Jinwoo happily starts heading over to him, asking if that means he was going easy on him. Lena tries to tell him to wait, saying that he can get more information out of him, and Mark yells, asking him what he is doing, saying that he must know better than anyone about the consequences of letting his guard down. She says that she understands where he's coming from, but this might be a good opportunity. He tells her to forget it, saying that they should just run, but she tells him no as she wants to watch the fight. He starts to run away anyway, saying that she's crazy and he doesn't care about this anymore. We see her nervously biting her lip, saying this might be crazy just like Mark said, but he's already clearly showed her once that in front of such an unreasonable monster, there is real potential here. Since he's from Earth, it means that their civilization might actually have a chance. Although the tier gap in civilization is big, with the suppressor, as long as it's on, there should still be a chance. But as she says that, we see him break it as he slowly starts to grow in size once more. The dude starts to yell, saying that he's done with the regulations and he'll definitely kill him with his own hands. She starts to sweat bullets, recognizing the fact that this is a pixie who is not suppressed and that he is a cosmos species that can freely manipulate metal as electricity starts to fly around him, and there is a blue aura in his hand. Jinwoo, though, seems excited, saying that this looks promising. The pixie squeezes his fist as metal begins to fly in directly towards where Jinwoo was, and the pixie says that he needs to experience the gap between their civilizations and die. As he starts to compress all of the metal, we see Jinwoo in the middle of it, bloodied up, and he starts to smile, saying that the shit is way too tempting. He explodes the debris, and the pixie says there's no way, as we see Jinwoo come out of it already fully healed. He calls out to the pixie, calling him Baldy, saying that he wants that power all for himself. The pixie, still completely confused that he broke through with pure force, says that that must mean he is stronger than him even without his suppressor, and he starts to sweat nervously, but he starts to inhale some copium, saying that there is no way, and that can't be true as he goes for yet another attack, launching more metal at Jinwoo. This time he compresses it even further, and there is silence for a second, and the pixie laughs, thinking that it's over, saying this is how it should have been. But we see he still doesn't know that Jinwoo is above him, as he is monologuing, saying that he knew their power wasn't even close. Jinwoo asks what he's been babbling about since earlier, and when the pixie goes to try to grab him, Jinwoo leaps backward through the air. The pixie starts to use the metal once more, asking what kind of tricks he is using, and as they start to fly in towards Jinwoo, he readies himself, and he starts to get a feeling on how to control it, as we see a yellow stripe go down his face and electricity form around him. The pixie now understands what's happening as there is yet another explosion from where Jinwoo was standing. Lena is just sitting there, completely stunned. The pixie asks how this trash is doing this, as he is using his civilization's cosmos force. Bro is a human Sharingan. Jinwoo says that he's glad that he understands that it's now called the cosmos force and he's gonna enjoy using it, and he'll show him his technique as gratitude for his display. The pixie starts to prepare an even bigger attack, asking him how dare he imitate him. Jinwoo says that this is not merely an imitation, as he dashes forward, and before the pixie can finish his monologue, he gets hit with an absolute bomb to the gut as we see it making his eyes water, causing his back to bulge. Jinwoo uses a technique called the Fierce Tiger Palm and starts to laugh, saying that he yoinked his ability. Lena can't believe that he actually won against a Tier 3 civilization using Cosmos Force, and she says that is unbelievable. Jinwoo starts to walk towards her, saying that this is quite an interesting martial art and it's low-key exhilarating. He then calls out to Lena, telling him to lead her to where those bald guys are. She grabs onto his hands and says, as expected, that must be why he came here and the reason he sneaked onto this planet, as he wants to prove his strength. He wonders what she means, but we see her eyes are completely full of hope now, saying that she'll take him to a place where much stronger guys are, and he should become the representative of Earth in the GSP tournament. It then jumps to Mark looking at the wreckage of the fight, and he wonders if this is for real. Since he can't believe it, but looking at the situation, that crazy person must be behind all of this. Lil Bro Fugly. We then see somebody's foot step into frame, and they say it seems like the situation has changed a lot from what he has heard. We are introduced to one of the judges of the planet GSP, named Virtus. He then asks if a pixie resident got out of control, putting people in danger. Then Mark realizes that he might have made a mistake, as he shouldn't have brought this guy here. Virtus says that from what he sees, it seems like some third party definitely intervened. And if even a Tier 3 civilization like the Pixies were defeated, then it means that it was a higher civilization or one that was specialized in combat. Mark's a little confused, saying that logically it's unbelievable to think that it was the work of a human, and that this is good, as it means he has the time to contact Lena. Virtus then asks Mark what he seems so worried about, and Mark starts to get a little nervous, saying that he isn't. Virtus says that he can tell by his face that he was clearly worried about something and he can't hide it from him. Mark laughs, saying he guesses he can't fool a judge after all, and he's just worried about the other human he was with. Virtus tells him that they won't be safe, as from the looks of the scene, the suspect is definitely a heinous criminal. Mark goes along with it, and then Virtus points over to the crime scene, saying that he shouldn't worry though. The best investigators on planet GSP are reconstructing the scene, so they will soon find out who did this. Mark looks at the drones as they start to do some kind of materialization, and he says that he's heard about the memory specter as it recreates what has occurred in the past. Above him, rubble starts to shift loose, and he looks up, saying that he knew staying here would cause problems. Virtus tells him not to be too disheartened as he starts to glow yellow. He then lightly punches upwards, shattering even the ground he is stepping on, blowing one hell of a beam straight up to the sky, def a bit overkill. Mark looks up surprised, and Virtus says that he, the judge of justice, will surely take revenge for his kin. Bro did not have to do this to the building, now they just have to repair it. Mark sits there, completely terrified, saying that this is really bad and that he's understanding her fear of aliens. We get a flashback to 30 minutes ago, and Jinwoo says that after he came to his senses, he found himself here, telling her his story. Lena starts to think about his story in the martial world, saying that this shit sounds like it's straight out of a novel. She says this explains how he was able to fluently speak a language he couldn't before, since he's good at learning instantly, saying maybe it was the influence of absorbing that Pixie's power too. She says that she's never heard of a Cosmo power that absorbs the power of others, however, If that's not the case, nothing is explained. She wonders why humanity lost these abilities in the first place, saying it might be akin to something like lost technology. As Jinwoo starts to walk away, she wonders what he's doing and asks him where the hell he's planning to go right now. He says that after he thought about it for a second, he doesn't really need her help anyway, and she yells, telling him to wait, saying that she told him that she'd take him there. He just continues walking away, saying that he can find it on his own. She starts to run after him, telling him to wait, saying this is not the world that he remembers. He says that he knows that this isn't the world he remembers, but he's interested in how the doors are automatic and stuff. Then we see he's actually a little surprised as when he exits, all he sees are aliens on the streets, and he wonders what they are. She breathing mad heavy as she puts his hand on his shoulder, saying that she told him, and then she welcomes him to the 26th century, saying that this is now an era of space exploration, which is something that during his time wasn't even an idea. He asks her what she means by space exploration era, and she says, as he can see, it means that since they've begun to interact with civilizations beyond Earth, that's why it's called that. He asks her what's so special about interacting with those bizarre creatures that she's even made a distinction in the era. She asks why he thinks they're bizarre and asks him what he thinks if he were to rank these creatures and humans based on their civilization's tier, where he thinks that humans would truly lay. We see that sometime later, he's now actually wearing a shirt. I give it a few minutes until he's shirtless, and he says he has no idea how many of those creatures there are, so how could he know something like that? She said there are a total of about 20,000 civilizations in this universe, and that humanity is at the very bottom of the food chain. He asks her if that means that the bald guy from earlier is included, and says maybe humans are just really stupid. She says that's right, and she hates to admit it, but maybe he can mind his words as we see she's a little annoyed. She says in the universe, there's a 5-tier scale that categorizes the hierarchical relationship. And as she said, humans are at the lowest tier, classified as a tier 1. Of course, even among the tier 1, they are at the very bottom. He laughs, saying that she really cares about this useless ranking. She asks what he means by useless. And he says that if he were her, he'd focus on gaining strength instead of worrying about all that. She then calls out to him, saying that she is formally proposing it once more. He asks her what she means and why she's doing this all of a sudden. She says that what he ultimately wants is to meet and fight strong beings. He says that could be said to be true, and she says that on this planet GSP, there is a tournament held every 100 years. And in this tournament, beings stronger than anything he could imagine are participating, so therefore if he represents Earth in this tournament, he can meet the strong beings he so desires. He slaps her hand off of him, asking if she's telling him to fight for her. She says yes, but to meet the strong beings, that's the only option he has. He tells her to shut up, asking if she really thinks that she can use him just because they exchanged a few words. Asking if she thinks he's foolish just because he's from a different time. She holds back her anger and says if it sounded that way, she's sorry and she'll change it to a request. And if they do well in this tournament, humanity can advance to the next tier of civilizations. He asks why the empty rankings are so important to her. She gets annoyed, saying it's not empty, and then he asks her what it is then, saying it's about going up a few tiers, and he asks her if it'll make their worthless cores change in any way. She then asks him what he will do if it does, saying to advance to the next stage, all you need to do is achieve good results in the tournament, and the tiers of civilization are categorized based on cosmos force, that is a life energy that quantifies existence. All powers that exceed common sense in this universe only manifest when one can freely manipulate the elusive energy. He says he's got it and that he understands that she wants to use this mysterious power, but it seems that you can only use it after advancing to the next tier. However, they don't have anybody who can actually fight in the tournament, so she wants him to go fight against those monsters and win. She says that is a pretty good recap, just like this video you are watching. But when a civilization advances, what you gain is not some way to use those superpowers but enlightenment. It's knowledge that you can't obtain even after a lifetime of effort. He asks what she means by that, and she says that the knowledge humanity has accumulated till now is one that has been believed to be the result of humanity's centuries of effort. Upon reaching this space exploration era, they revealed the truth to them all. What they thought they earned through their experience and effort wasn't the truth at all. It was but a mere fraction of the information that's continuously being transmitted by the enormous brain of a giant at the end of the universe. And then there are those who control the knowledge of that giant, and they are called N-Sapiens. They are the only tier 5 civilization in the current universe and the host of this damn tournament that she hates so much. Maybe this spirit is a part of them. She says that knowledge is distributed to each civilization unevenly due to their restrictions. He scoffs, saying that this shit is boring. In the end, just as he said earlier, she only wants to obtain it by getting him to fight. She says that's true, but he really needs to listen to what she has to say, as what he has to do is for all of humanity. He says instead of explaining, that she should find someone with the same beliefs, and he waves bye to her. He says that he doesn't think there's a fool who would risk their life to save the others. As he's distracted, we see a bright hand appearing in front of him, and when he turns to see it, it's none other than Virtus, who disintegrates him, blowing up his upper half entirely with a beam of light. And Virtus says that the judgment execution is now complete. He never would have imagined it would be the work of a low-tier civilization like this. As he walks forward past Jinwool's lower half, we see Lena's face look full of fear as she's looking up at him. Virtus says that for her involvement in the Pixie resident murder case, he will judge her now. He starts to extend his hand to do the same thing to her, and we hear Jinwool say that that shit really hurt. He starts to bark at Virtus, and we see Lena's mouth wide open as she's confused, asking how he's alive. As his body looks like that of a zombie, he asks Virtus what he's doing, leaving him in such a bad state. Virtus is speechless, and Jinwool tells him not to dare move from there, and he'll make him look just like he does now. It jumps to Street C, as we see 3 people from the Piglo species walking around, including the little girl from earlier, who we learn is named Mala. Then she starts telling them about the Earthling sister that helped her. There are 2 more with her named Grog and Kulak. Grog says that it seems that Earthlings are braver than what the rumors say. Mala says that's right, and Kulak says that he'll make sure he repays their gratitude. Then they spot somebody else in front of them, and we hear Panon asking what they were chatting about so happily without him. Grog says that their youngest almost got into trouble after going to cheer for him. Mala immediately starts running directly towards Panon, jumping into his arms while he laughs. Grog says that he seems to have been through a lot, asking if he's okay. He tells them not to worry, as he's in good enough shape to fight right now. We see their civilization ranking has gone up quite a bit. He then asks what they meant by Mala almost getting into trouble, but their reunion is cut short as we see fire off in the distance. All the aliens start to scream about how Judge Virtus has appeared on the street and that everybody must evacuate. They're chasing an Earthling who had killed a Pixie resident and fled afterward. Grog and Kulak both say that that combination seems oddly familiar, and Mala tugs on Panon's hand. He asks her what's wrong and if she needs something, and she starts to think about what to say. But Panon wonders what she wants, and I assume she explains it to him. Because it then jumps again to a building completely collapsing, with rubble everywhere, and Lena is on the ground. As she's looking at the pile of debris, we see Jinwool standing atop it, saying this is what happens when you carelessly blow someone else's body away, as he is using the Pixie's power to hold Virtus down. But then, right beneath his feet, it begins to glow brightly as holes start forming underneath him. Jinwool realizes that he's about to get out and leaps back down to the ground to distance himself. We see Virtus' hand melting it all, saying he couldn't believe it when he saw it on sight. He wants him to tell him if he really absorbed the Pixie resident's Cosmo Force, and he seems more dangerous than he initially thought. Jinwool asks if that means he's starting to regret touching him. He raises his foot and then stomps it down using a technique called the Earth-Splitting Explosive. He tells Virtus that it's too late now as we hear massive follow-up explosions. It seems as if the streets are shaking. Civilians start to panic, saying that everybody needs to evacuate quickly, but Lena sits there just confused, wondering what the hell Jinwool is doing as she is staring at the back of Virtus. Then Panon's hand is seen covering her mouth, which surprises her. He tells her to calm down as he's only here to save her. Grog starts to run in as well, and Panon says that he told him to take Mala and run away. Lena just wonders what's going on and recognizes it as the guy that the little kid was cheering on earlier. Panon picks her up. While she's lost in thought, Lena yells, saying that nobody is listening to her today. Grog says that Mala is with Kulak, so he shouldn't worry. He just needs to start hauling cheeks away from Virtus. Lena asks him what he wants with her, and he says that he's come to repay the favor she did for them last time, as their civilization always repays kindness when received. Grog tells him that he needs to run now, and Lena just sits there, telling him to wait a minute, asking what he means. Panon says that saving her kind is impossible, as the judges are all monsters who have made it to the finals in the tournament. As we see Jinwool using some kind of clone technique to attack Virtus, Virtus says it seems like the Pixie civilization's force isn't everything he's got under his sleeves and raises his hand. He creates a giant yellow orb, which immediately starts to fragment out light, completely destroying the area around them. Bro is overkill with everything, and he says that it was merely just a trick though. We see Jinwool right behind him, saying he thought he would say that, but it turns out he didn't get the upper hand as we see a finger being pointed directly at his forehead. As Virtus' hand is teleported, he says no. It seems as if it was as he initially thought, and that Jinwoo is just a truly insignificant being, as he blasts him away. Back to Lena, she's yelling, saying that he needs to let go of her now, and she even calls him an alien bastard, telling him if he's going to save someone, he needs to save the person fighting Virtus and not her. Grog asks if she wasn't listening, asking how they're meant to fight a monster like Virtus. Panon says that's enough already, as she's the one who saved Mala. Grog tries to convince him that they should just stop this already, and that belief is too outdated to hold on to. Panon tells him to shut up, saying this is their civilization's ideal that has been protected for a lifetime, as we see something flying in from behind them. It lands directly in front of them, and we see it as something on fire. Panon looks down at it, confused, as we see it's none other than Jinwoo. Bro got left in the air fryer for too long. Lena says this is the one he was asking for him to help. Grog says that if he was fighting Virtus, this can't be a good sign. As we see Virtus teleport in from behind them, Grog says he knew this shit would happen. He says that if they can't stay here, they need to escape quickly, even if this means leaving the Earthlings behind. We see Lena looking down at Jinwoo nervously, wondering if he's alive. He then starts to spit up blood, and she smiles, saying it's as expected. She tells Panon to take a proper look at him as she is trying to convince him that he's alive as Jinwoo starts to scream. They both can't believe that he is still kicking as he is continuously regenerating even after being engulfed in Virtus's flames. Panon asks if maybe the Earthling's cosmic force could be regeneration, but it seems too precious of a power for such a lowly creature to possess. Grog then tries to convince Virtus that they are not in the wrong, but he says this is enough and that if they just let go of the criminals, he'll let them leave. Grog asks Panon if he didn't hear him saying this is their chance. Panon then asks Lena if she really thinks that Jinwoo can survive. She says yes, as she has seen him recover from worse injuries. Panon says if that's so, then they should take him to the GSP registration office right away, because if he becomes a fighter, even Virtus won't be able to touch him recklessly. Grog tries to convince him otherwise, but Panon takes off his robe, saying he'll hold Virtus off while they go to the office. Grog reluctantly grabs onto Jinwoo, saying he can't believe how stubborn he is, and he starts running away with Lena as well. He tells Panon to make sure not to die here. Panon tells him not to worry, as with his victory, they'll get a weapon to surprise him. Virtus starts to point his finger out like he's Kizaru from One Piece, asking if they really think they can escape. As the beam starts to get to max charge, Panon says he's heard that before. Virtus became a judge because he was a Heliconian, and the weaknesses of the Heliconians, who wield the power of light, is darkness, as it begins to envelop around him. Panon says it just so happens that today the cosmic force of his civilization is indeed the power of darkness. Maybe his power switches every day. That is cool. Panon says surely it must be the ancestors' command to assist Mala's benefactor. It jumps to the registration office, as we see the office staff named Kirino saying that no matter how much they keep telling her that she can't do it, Lena and Grog keep trying to convince her otherwise. She says that even so, his condition does not seem to be that good. As we see he's still on fire, he tries to tell her that he's fine, so she should hurry up with the process as his ability is ultra regeneration. All of the other aliens start to hear all the noise, wondering what's going on, and they say it seems like some Earthlings are trying to register for the tournament. One of them begins to laugh, asking why such a weak civilization is participating, and immediately, everybody starts to laugh, saying if they face off against the Earthlings, it'll be a guaranteed win, so they need to help them enter. While Lena and Grog start to tell Kirino that she needs to listen to them, all the other aliens start to take their side, telling her to register them quickly, as all civilizations have their freedom to participate. Grog wonders why the hell the others are helping. As everybody starts to chant register them over and over, she says that she'll do it, and Lena says that's good, and she should have done it from the start. But Kirino says that before that, she needs to confirm one thing, and she points over to where Jinwoo was, asking where he went. Both her and Grog can't believe that he just ran away. Now we are on a different street called Street G, and Virtus says that he doesn't understand what he is gaining by saving the Earthlings and putting his life on the line, as he holds onto Panon by the head, and he can't seem to make sense of the thoughts of low-tiered civilizations at all. We then hear Jinwoo calling out to him, and he says that he's not going to be able to do it. Jinwoo calls out to him as he is right above him, coming in with a heavy punch. Bro is naked. His aura starts to send out shockwaves as he tells Virtus that he's going to die this time. Virtus stretches his hand out, saying that he sees, and it's no wonder that low-tiered civilizations make such foolish judgments from the start, as they're all mentally ill. We see a shadow beginning to come up from the ground and wrap around Virtus's arm, and Panon yells, saying he's sealed that guy's abilities and that Jinwoo needs to hit him hard. Virtus is surprised by this. Jinwoo says that whether his martial arts are insignificant or not, he can beat the judge of that after eating this attack, as we see him hit Virtus directly in the head, even knocking his helmet off. It then jumps to the Planetary Promotional Center as Mark sits there, anxiously biting his thumb, saying it's not his fault, and if Lena had not meddled in the first place, none of this shit would have happened. He then hears a very loud sound and turns to see an explosion directly in front of him, across the street, as all the civilians wonder what's going on, saying it might be a terrorist attack. Mark immediately pulls out his name card, saying that he's starting to get a bad feeling about this. I believe he is calling Lena. Back to the fight, we see Virtus' helmet on the ground as he is sitting there, covering his face, Panon taking a little nap. He then glares to his side as Jinwoo says this is seriously no joke, and he starts to laugh, asking how he withstood a serious blow from him. He says this will be a perfect opportunity to take his power, as it seems really useful. Virtus yells, telling him that he will not forgive him, asking how dare he scratch the mask that was directly bestowed by the Divine. As his hand begins to teleport, we finally see his face, and he continues yelling, telling Jinwoo he's going to rip him apart. Virtus' hand teleports directly above Jinwoo, and Jinwoo laughs, saying he could have predicted what he was after from the very start, and leaps forward, avoiding the attack. But Virtus doesn't miss a beat, as he's immediately behind him. Jinwoo goes to say that his flickering movement technique is a bit troublesome. We see Virtus palming his head like a basketball as he yeets the absolute piss out of him, making him go Mach 1, breaking the sound barrier, sending Jinwoo flying into a building. Virtus then begins to charge up another beam attack in his hand, and we see it shoot out into multiple streams, with each one having a heavy effect as it bombards Jinwoo. We then hear Mark saying that he's arrived, and it's just like Lena said, that guy is here. She barks at him, asking if he's sure, and we see that she's happy that he's safe. Grog is just confused that he's recovered from an injury of that degree so fast. Mark says that he doesn't think it's the time to be relieved, and Lena asks what he's talking about. Mark then tells her that he's here, but he's not exactly safe, as we see Virtus slowly walking over to him. Virtus says that this is honestly surprising to him, that he's able to recover even from damage to this degree, as bro is almost turned into ash. Virtus says that he doesn't know how a lower tier civilization got such overwhelming power, and this will end now, as he starts to rear his fist back, preparing for the final attack. We then hear Kirino's yelling, telling him to wait a moment, and Virtus stops while replying with telepathy and asks her what she wants. She tells him that Earthling has been registered to represent Earth in the tournament. Virtus asks what nonsense she's talking about, saying he's been here the whole time. She goes to explain to him that 30 minutes ago, all of the aliens here were in an uproar, telling her to register them, and they even called her a racist, saying that she can't get away with this nonsense and to lock in already. She gets annoyed and tells Lena and Grog that there's no way that she'll yield just because they're stubborn, and Grog calls her a racist, asking her what she's yapping about, and Lena starts barking at her too, showing her that she's fluent in Karen. Kirinos tells her to get a grip already, and then we hear a man say, "Excuse me," right behind Lena, and he says that surely there's a system for provisional registration if the competitor can't be here themselves. All the other aliens say that now that he's mentioning it, they've heard of that too, but some of them say they've never even heard about this, and Kirino says of course they wouldn't know, it's not a policy for low-tier civilizations, but if she uses this, then it might just work, and she tells them that she'll agree to it. She slams down some paperwork, telling Lena that if she fills out these documents by hand and gives them to her, she'll register the fighter, but if she can't do it, then she needs to give up and go home. Grog looks pissed, asking her what kind of joke this is, saying this isn't in the common language, and it's written in an upper-tier civilization's language, asking how they're meant to understand these scribbles. Kirinos laughs, saying that's too bad, and Grog says it's only natural that they wouldn't know, and she needs to give them something in the common language, and she tells them that they don't have anything like that, and that the provisional registration system was created for the convenience of higher civilizations, so naturally it's written in a language familiar to them. Grog looks pissed, but he can't really refute it. The other aliens say this isn't going to work, and they wonder why the Earthlings are so desperate to register their fighter. Lena immediately starts writing on the paper, and the other aliens wonder what she's doing, as we see she's actually writing in the upper-tier civilization language. Grog asks how she can even read all of that, and even Kirinos is in disbelief and yoinks the paper away, saying that this must be a bluff, as there's no way a lower civilization could know this, but much to her surprise, that's not the case, as Lena was not bluffing, and she can read and write in the language. She says with an Earthling's mind that the symbols in the language should be way too hard to distinguish. Virtus says that must mean that someone was around helping her in secret. Kirinos says that could be a possibility, but if that Earthling really wrote in the language on her own, recognizing the difference between characters as if they were finding differences in a picture, maybe she memorized millions of words all at once, but even if she did that, she would still struggle to make sense of the sentences, which means that she would have had to memorize every possible sentence structure as well. But that's way too impossible, as it would be difficult for even a civilization specializing in language like herself. Virtus says that must mean someone else is helping her. Kirinos tells Virtus that even if that was the case, helping isn't illegal, so they can't cancel the registration. Virtus tells her that he understands, as he's looking down at Jinwoo. He says that he can't believe someone was willing to risk their life for their benefactor, and now they've got a helper who can secretly teach them the language of higher civilizations without Kirinos being able to detect it, and it's as if the entire universe is begging to save this guy. He resummons his mask and stretches his hand out, so that he'll let it slide this one time, but it seems that he'll need to restrain his little trick somehow, as his hand starts to glow, and Mark starts to report back to Lena, saying that the judge took Jinwoo and some scoundrel and disappeared. Lena asks what he means, but Grog is just pissed that he called his brother a scoundrel. Kirinos tells him to stop overreacting, saying both of them were simply moved to the recovery room for competitors. Grog asks why she's suddenly using an informal tone but thanks her anyways, and Kirinos barks, saying they need to get the hell out of here now. It jumps to a whole week later in the recovery room, as we see Jinwoo is still trying to recover from Virtus' attack. Mark asks Lena if she really thinks he'll be able to compete in this state. She tells him not to worry, as he'll get better in no time. We hear a man saying it's been a while since he's heard her make such a bold claim, but to him, the dude in the chamber seems to be barely hanging on to life, and we are introduced to the team commander named Ive. He says that it seems he's placed too much trust in Lena, and therefore he'll proceed with the original competitor for the match in 2 days. She begs him, saying that he would only give them more time. We then hear someone else yelling, telling Lena to stop getting swayed by that random, as he leaps forward, jumping straight over Ive, and lands with a superhero landing, and we are introduced to Marcel Blade and Lena ignores his ass and starts banging on the glass, telling Jinwoo to wake up. Ive puts his hand on her shoulder, telling her not to worry too much, as Marcel is the current strongest Earthling and has been personally chosen by him. Furthermore, the suit he's wearing is the pinnacle of all the knowledge humanity has accumulated so far, and after this match, no civilization will dare to underestimate Earthlings ever again. It then jumps to one of the civilization rankings of a civilization called the Bizarians, who rank 10,320th. Their home planet is composed of immensely dense rock, with lava and toxic gas spewing in every direction. The place is also known as Hell, and to survive in such an environment, the Bizarians had to evolve their bodies to extreme limits. We hear Lena saying that their current opponent is named Crocs J. Brick. He is notorious, even among them, for his superior physical abilities, so what they must pay attention to during his match, but then she gets cut off by some random dude, who confirms that they are at the same civilization level as them. He says that's more than enough, calling her Miss PR. He starts picking his nose, saying that she just needs to leave the rest to them, and she can leave already. We are introduced to the combat team manager, Marshall Steele. He says that he heard the PR branch was wrecked during a clash with those alien scumbags, and it seems like she has nowhere to go now, and it's her fault, as she should have been more careful. We see Lena getting annoyed, and then behind some of Ive's guards, a drone enters the room, telling the contestant for the next match to please proceed to the waiting area. Marshall stands up, saying he guesses it's his turn now, and Lena tries to tell him to wait a moment, saying that she's prepared a strategy. She runs up towards him, but he points his hand out, telling her that he's tired of hearing her talk, and they don't need strategies, and she should just enjoy the show. She gets pissed, asking why he's not listening and wonders where all of this confidence is coming from, saying that he's been stuck on Earth, so he doesn't understand it. These aliens don't abide by Earth's rules. They can only win over a superior civilization through strategy and analysis. In other words, their victory is dependent on tactics, especially since the might of humans is at the bottom of the universe. Ive then pulls out the gat and shoots right past Lena, which scares her, and he says that wasn't exactly an inspiring speech right before the match, and asks if she's too detached from Earth herself. As we see, Marcel has actually blocked the bullet for Marshall. Ive says that they have dedicated the entire last century to win this tournament, pouring everything, including budget, time, and workforce. Marcel touches the band-aid on his nose, asking if she understands, and immediately he suits up, revoke bro's posing privilege. He then gives her the thumbs up, saying that he wishes she would have faith in her, and he runs away, telling Lena to cheer for him, and he laughs, but she can't help but not feel as enthusiastic as the rest. The announcer then thanks everybody for waiting so long, and we see Mark eating some purple potato boys in the audience as the 8th bracket preliminaries will now commence. Maybe they're roly-polies, and he wonders where Lena is at. On cue, we hear her grab one of the roly-polies, asking why he's eating here alone, and then she asks the same question as us, what the hell is he eating? He says that he ran into some people claiming to know her. She asks who, and then looks over only to see Grog and Pannon sitting beside them. Lena says this is creepy that they're following her, and Grog tells her that this is only a coincidence, and says that her matchup luck is pretty good, and this should be a pretty easy win for the Earthlings. They can tell from her expression she doesn't feel the same, and Pannon asks what's with her blank face. The judge then announces for the contestants to enter, and he starts to give Marcel his shout-out, saying that with a civilization ranking of 12,700, they are the absolute bottom of the rankings, and Marcel walks out with his hands up like a champ. But Grog looks confused and asks who the hell this dude is, saying surely the other guy was her representative. Pannon says that it seems like he's still in the recovery capsule. Lena asks how he knows that, and Pannon holds up his hand to show a bracelet on his wrist, asking if she knows what this is. She asks if that's a force suppressor, and he says yes. When he woke up from the recovery capsule, it was attached to his wrist, and depending on the being, its position and form may vary, but he should have one too. He asks if there was anything suspicious on his body. She says that now that he mentions it, there was something weird on his neck. Mark asks what a force suppressor does. She says it's exactly as the name implies, it suppresses cosmoforce, and some abilities can drain life with even brief usage, and civilizations with cosmoforce are mandated to wear suppressors on other planets, and contestant suppressors can't be removed outside of the arena. Mark said that he thought he was a martial artist, asking what's the deal with cosmoforce. Lena says that it's hypothesized that Jinwal's regen is using the cosmos. Even though rapid regeneration is rare, it's not unknown, but based on ancient Earth's numerous abilities as mentioned by Jinwal, it feels far too different to be simply labeled cosmoforce, and she wonders what exactly was sealed on him. The judge then calls in for the next contestant to enter, as the other side of the arena door opens. We see one of the Bizarians on the ground, while the other is in a weird position, as the absolute piss is being choked out of him. A pixie tells somebody to run over, asking if that's the Earthling, and we see little bro running up, saying that the features are hard to discern through the mask, but it is probably him, and all Earthlings seem to have the same physique. The pixie then starts to walk forward, saying he was informed that he would be coming as the Earth's representative, asking if it really is him. As the crowd starts to chant Croc's name, super excited to see the representative, instead, a pixie walks out, and their chants stop, leaving them confused because the Bizarians all have one eye, and this dude has two, and they say that's not our guy. The judge asks who the hell would barge into someone else's match like this, and then the pixie introduces himself as Twinkies, the representative of the pixie civilization with a ranking of 1,300. Mark is surprised, asking Lena if she's seeing this shit too, and the judge says he doesn't care who he is, and he needs to stop disrupting the match and bring out the contestant. Twinkies says if he's referring to Croc's J Brick, he won't be participating in this match, so therefore he should take his place. Everybody starts asking what kind of nonsense this is in a sacred arena, telling him to get out, whereas the Bizarians are asking what he did to Crocs, saying that this dude is completely insane. The judge then yells, telling everybody to silence. Immediately, all of their ears start to hurt, and the judge slams his fist into his desk, saying that Twinkies better choose his next words carefully. Twinkies says that he just wants to get straight to the point. Just because he is a GSP contestant, he hasn't faced any punishment, and the Earthling is a murderer who killed an innocent member of his civilization. The crowd asks what he's talking about, because it would be impossible for an Earthling to kill a pixie. While Marcel is still reeling from the judge's scream, Twinkies says that he understands that it may be hard to believe, but as they are all aware, Pixians were suppressors, every single one of them, and that ruthless monster exploited the vulnerability and murdered his kin, and he yells, begging the judge for a chance to avenge his people who died unjustly. The crowd wonders if this might actually be true, bringing up how the promotional center was utterly destroyed the other day. Mark asks Lena if this is not just a complete misunderstanding, and she says not to worry, because there's no way anybody would consider such a dumbass proposal. But immediately after, Judge Forearms gives Twinkies the all right to take Croc's spot, and he starts to get interested, saying that a warrior who risked his life to take the place of another contestant for the sake of avenging his kin is much more entertaining than watching the matches of these insects. Lena tries to say that this is absurd and to wait, but Mark tells her not to even yap. But then someone else speaks up, calling out to Judge Forearms, asking what will happen to the Bizarians, only for his head to immediately explode, and Mark tells Lena to put her hand down now, as they can't believe what the hell they just saw. The judge ignores the Bizarians, saying that the match has already been delayed for too long, and it's time to get started, and under his authority, let him introduce the substitute contestant for the Bizarians. Marcel is finally awake now, wondering what's going on. As Twinkies gets his announcement, the judge asks if anybody thinks that he's going to be able to avenge his kin or not. Saying he hopes they are excited, the judge says that now it's time to begin the match, and everybody starts to chant, "Death to Marcel," leaving him completely confused on what's going on since he was out of it from the scream. And we see Ev watching from a screen, and Lena immediately runs in, calling out to him, asking what he's doing here so leisurely, saying that he needs to go protest to the tournament community right now, and Ev asks why he would need to protest. She asks if he's not watching clearly enough, saying that the contestant has changed during the match, and it is a clear violation of the tournament rules. Ev continues smoking his cigar, asking if it matters that there has been a change, or if she doesn't understand who just ordered the match to continue, as he is one of the 6 gods of the universe. He is an Insapian named Leviathan, asking who could possibly stop a god's decision. She slams her hands on the table out of frustration, and then immediately walks away, saying that this means the tournament rules never meant anything from the start, and that she'll treat it the exact same way. As some of the crowd starts to chant, saying to execute the murderer, Marcel looks around as stuff gets thrown at him, and he wonders what's going on with the crowd's sudden mood change and who the hell is standing in front of him, as he wasn't the one he saw during the morning before. He says that something must have happened when the suit had a problem, then asks himself if it even matters, as he starts to limber up and immediately gets down into position, dashing forward, saying that his objective has not changed. He comes in with a punch, saying that he just needs to crush the enemy before him, all for the sake of humanity, and Twinkies sidesteps the attack. Marcel tells him he has good reflexes while regaining his footing, and says that he's only getting started, as he enables the thrust on his back, coming in at even faster speeds than a second ago. His punches seem heavy as he rapid fires them off at Twinkies, and even Mark says that he's definitely not fooling around. Grog says the Earthling is doing better than they expected, but Pannon seems to have a different opinion. Marcel then raises his hand into the air, saying it's time for hyper-engage. As his arm glows with reddish electricity, we see him come in with a skill called Buster, leaving a red trail in its wake, hitting Twinkies directly in the face, smashing him into the floor. There's a massive shockwave followed by his crash, and then an explosion follows, destroying some of the arena. Leviathan continues shoutcasting the fight, saying that the arena floor is being shattered by the overwhelming force, and asks if this might be the end for Twinkies. Ive breaks his cigar, while seemingly lost in thought, saying that Marcel has yet again accomplished an impossible mission, just like the day he first met him. We see a soldier getting shot, as Marcel hides behind a corner. Some men walk by, laughing, asking where the great general is hiding, telling him to come out and give up, as he should consider himself dead. Ive then calls out to a young Marcel, saying he'll draw the enemy's attention, and while they're distracted, he needs to escape and inform the headquarters of the location, and make sure to exterminate this murderous group. As the guys keep walking around, they hear gunfire and immediately turn, as Marcel is shooting his gun up. Ive asks what he's doing, and Marcel says that the general's second mission is to wipe these dudes out, something he will carry out immediately. Ive tells him to stop being foolish, and all he hears is them yelling to kill him, as gunfire follows, and they ask what kind of monster doesn't die after being shot, and all Ive can hear is the screams coming from around the corner. Footsteps follow, and Marcel returns, carrying one of the dudes by his head, saying that now they should return to headquarters together for the next mission. Leviathan then asks if everyone else sees the silhouette in the smoke, as we see it behind Marcel, and he yells, saying that the match is not over, because Twinkies is still standing. He wonders if Twinkies has even taken damage, as there's not even a hint of movement. Marcel readies his arm for another attack, saying that's some serious endurance, but immediately his arm gets blasted off, and he looks down at it, confused before his body can even react to it. Leviathan asks if everyone else just saw that, and Ive's face goes pale, as Marcel's arm has been completely ripped off by Twinkies. Marcel's body finally starts to recoil in pain, as he holds onto his shoulder, screaming, and he looks up, asking what just happened. Twinkies asks what he's so surprised about, asking if he hasn't fought his kind before. Marcel asks what he means by that, only for his suit to get warped off, sending him flying backwards, and he asks if this guy really killed Mr. Picky. He calls out to the other bald guy, who we learn is named Flock, telling him to check this dude's face. This guy just looks like he's in the wrong manhwa, and he says that this is not the same dude, and he puts his hands up in an X symbol. Twinkies walks forward, saying that he knew it from the start. There's no way Mr. Picky and Flock would fall to some idiot like this. He stretches his hand out towards Marcel, calling out to him in a very cold tone, asking him where the hell that bastard is. Then we hear Leviathan shoutcasting the fight, saying that Twinkies has torn off Marcel's leg, and Marcel is writhing in pain. I can't help but watch in fear. All the other aliens feel like it's no longer a match, but an execution. Leviathan himself says that the match has now turned into some earthling torture show. Twinkies holds Marcel up into the air above him, and we hear Marshall screaming, telling Twinkies to stop, calling him an alien bastard, and then he yells, telling Marcel that the match is already over and to just say he gives up. Marcel, bleeding everywhere, asks what he means, saying this is a mission that involves the lives of billions of humans, and he refuses to give up, as he charges up his fist, coming in for another punch. Bro has some next level determination. Twinkies points his finger downwards, causing Marcel to slam into the ground with insane amounts of force, making him spit up blood. Leviathan says that Marcel's final desperate strike has been blocked so easily, and it seems that the journey of Earthlings in this tournament is going to end here, as Ive and the rest can't help but feel like it's all over. We then finally see Lena again. She's gassed out, asking who the hell they think they are, and then she yeets Jinwoo forward, asking why they think they can end somebody else's journey. How did she have the strength to throw him? She must be forklift certified. She yells, saying that the journey of Earthlings is just beginning, as someone else grabs onto the back of her head. The aliens ask her why she's throwing trash into the arena, saying to get it out of here. Twinkies looks down at Jinwoo, wondering what's going on, and Lena yells, telling Marcel he did well to hold on, and the mission is done, and he can leave the rest up to Jinwoo. Flock then yells, telling Twinkies that he's the guy who killed Mr. Picky. Twinkies wonders if he's talking about the trash that just flew in, and then immediately Jinwoo starts to stand up, surprising Twinkies, who says there was no sign of life just now. Jinwoo says the next time he sees Virtus, he is going to rip his head off, and he looks around the arena, wondering where he is, as we see his suppression device falling off his neck. We get to see a bit of a flashback to before all of this as Marcel is crawling on the floor, and Leviathan says, in the end, it seems that this is a hopeless situation with no chance of counterattack. Grog says it's just as he expected, though he had some hope at least, but the difference in strength is too much, while Mark is too busy scrolling TikTok. He then calls Lena, asking where she is, saying that it seems like they've been eliminated, only to ask what she means, by her telling him to come to where she is now. He immediately says that he's coming, and that she doesn't need to keep barking at him. We see him enter a hallway, and he looks around, saying Gate 5 should be right here, wondering what's going on. He then hears a robot saying to put the patient down, Earthling, as he sees Lena being chased down the hallway. Lena tells him to hurry up and get over here and stop these guys, but he starts running with her too, and she asks what the hell he's doing, saying she told him to stop them, asking where he's going. He asks how he's supposed to stop them out of nowhere and asks what she's even carrying, and then screams after he sees Jinwoo, asking what she's been doing. She says that she's just giving the people of Earth some hope. Mark asks if she's mocking them, and she says that she'll explain it later, but for now he needs to try to stop these guys for as long as possible, as she backhands the piss out of him, making him fall onto the floor. Mark screams, asking where they are taking him, and she says that she won't forget about his honorable sacrifice. Flock sits there bored, watching the match, wondering what's going on, only to hear a robot say, Earthlings, stop right there, and he turns to see Lena and instantly recognizes her, and that is when she threw Jinwoo into the arena. And immediately after, the robot put her head into the ground. Leviathan asks what is going on. When the robot goes to explain it, he tells him to stop talking, and that the robot only needs to take the trash and that woman and get out of here. Lena asks what he means by trash, saying that he is a warrior who defeated 2 Pixians alone, and that trash over there is none other than Earth's representative, the Mad Demon, Ma Jinwoo. He fought on an equal footing against Virtus as well, the judge of Zone 3. Panon laughs, saying she's conveniently leaving out important parts, but it's not that it matters to him. The other aliens say that is a blatant lie, but then recall the explosion on Z Street. Lena says that if the reason he allowed the substitution of the opposing player was to give them a chance for revenge, then she's brought the real target of that revenge, so approve the substitution too. Grog says that there's no way she's trying to argue against an Insapien and laughs. Anon says that, she sure is feisty. Leviathan starts thinking about it, saying it's pretty impressive for an Earthling, but it's too late if the match is already over, and they can't rewind a completed match. Marcel yells, saying that it's not over, as he has not admitted defeat. Leviathan says that he low-key thought he was dead, and then approves the substitution, and I've takes another hit of his cigar, saying Marcel has done well enough. Lena laughs, saying with this, the Earth's future still has a chance, and the robot picks her up, telling her to stop talking, saying she's coming with them, and she starts kicking and flailing her arms as they carry her away. Twinkie asks if this is really the person who defeated his kin, as he can't even tell if he's alive. Immediately, we see life come back to Jinwoo's eyes, and that is when he stood up, leaving Twinkies confused. Leviathan then says it's unbelievable that such trash, and then corrects himself, saying that Earth's representative Ma Jinwoo is fully revived, and says that his regeneration ability is not bad, and this might turn out more interesting than he expected. Jinwoo looks around, seeing it's been so noisy since earlier, asking where he is. Twinkie says that he's been looking for him, and now he can finally avenge his kin. Jinwoo sighs, saying it's the same energy he saw from his other dudes, and he's not interested in weaklings anymore. As he starts to leave, he turns his back entirely to Twinkies, and he says that first, he needs to find Lena and figure out what's going on. Twinkies grabs onto his arm, and Jinwoo calls him persistent, saying he told him he had no use for weaklings, only for him to start slowly getting lifted into the air. He looks down, confused. Then he rears his hand back, saying that he already showed him mercy once, and that won't happen for the second time, as he swipes his hand forward, and blood begins to fly. Jinwoo notices something, as he looks down, as it's his own hand that broke, and he says that something seems to be wrong with his body. Twinkie says not only did he kill his kin, but he also dares mock his civilization, asking how dare a lowly insect of an inferior race not know his place, as he slams him straight into the arena, shattering it. Jinwoo spits up blood but doesn't take even a second as he immediately leaps through the air, distancing himself from Twinkies, and he wonders what Virtus did to his body. He can't use any martial arts except for his Immortal Spirit Foundation, and he says that he guesses he doesn't have a choice. As Twinkies begins to enlarge himself, he comes in with a bomber right. Jinwoo looks head on, saying he'll fight the old-fashioned way for once, eating the blow, as it absolutely obliterates the midsection of his body, separating him into two halves. Twinkies laughs, asking what an inferior species could possibly do, only for Jinwoo to shove his fingers straight into his eyes. As Twinkies is screaming in pain, Jinwoo immediately goes for the follow-up, putting his thumb into Twinkie's mouth, unhinging his jaw, only to shove it closed with his other hand, cutting his own thumb off, and he tells Twinkies to go ahead and eat that shit. Twinkies calls him trash, only to clap his hands together, disintegrating Jinwoo into nothing but a mist, leaving the only thing remaining of him in the arena were his legs from earlier. Leviathan says Twinkie's strength is overwhelming, as he literally disintegrated Jinwoo's upper body. Twinkie sits there with his eyes watery, asking what he just made him eat, saying the moment he regenerates him, he'll crush him again. Jinwoo asks if that's really going to be the case, as we see his hands start to come out from Twinkie's mouth as he starts to forcefully exit, saying he'll give him exactly what he wants. Twinkies realizes what's going on, as he feels his jaws forcibly open. We hear a disgusting snap, as his head rears back, leaving him grabbing up for his jaw, as we see Jinwoo is now on the floor below him. Holy, never seen anybody fight with regeneration like this before. Grog says this pretty much the same thing, saying that he didn't know regeneration could be used for the offensive, and that if he can land one or two more of those attacks, it'll be over. Anon agrees, saying that the Earthling side might be able to win this match. We hear someone else says that his fighting skills are better than his ability to judge a match, and unfortunately that was the only chance the Earthling had to win this, as Twinkies won't present them with such an opening again. And in that case, the chance of that Earthling winning is zero. Grog asks why they're sitting casually with them, and the woman tells them not to be so cold, and that she's a space journalist named Ackerman. We have no idea what rank her civilization is from, but she's from the Euphoria Star. She says that she became interested after they defeated Agony, and not to mention that he blocked an attack from Virtus. Anon asks how she knows that, saying that very few people knew he was involved in that fight. She laughs, saying that she told him she's a journalist, and she has her ways. Panon asks why the chance is 0 for that Earthling to win, as that one fought directly against Virtus. She says that even if Virtus was at only 1/10,000th of his full power, surviving that is an incredible feat. That happened because he's a regenerator, and he barely survived. A beast barely clinging to life can't compare to a proud warrior. Grog says even so, surviving against a judge means he has the skills of a third-level civilization at least. Ackerman tells them that they seem to be not understanding, and that they are definitely underestimating the upper civilizations just because of a single victory, and they can't match the experience of the 1,300th ranked civilization in the universe. As Twinkies is coming in with a full swing, he lets out a roar, and slams down directly where Jinwoo is standing. Grog asks where that giant thing came from, and Ackerman asks what they mean where, it was there the whole time. They ask if she's talking about the tiny beads, and she says most aliens underestimate metal manipulation as simple magnetic telekinesis, but Twinkies can control metal at a molecular level, and compresses it into ultra-high density metal balls for portability. Jinwoo, though, even with his face being completely gone, begins regenerating while he is charging straight in. She says with the current amount of metal that is in Twinkies' possession, it's going to be real hard for the Earthling to win this, as we see Jinwoo hit directly on Twinkies' head, but he's the one who gets injured instead, as his entire hand gets shattered. Twinkies then swings down, knocking his head clean off, and she says that it's comparable to an Earthling fighting the largest battleship in the universe. Grog can't believe that Twinkies had the power all along, and was mocking them by hiding it. She says that from the perspective of a first-level civilization, they definitely think of it that way. Grog asks what she's talking about, and looks pissed. She says that she didn't mean it as an insult. The GSP tournament is watched by the entire universe. In other words, this tournament is held once every 100 years. It's a colossal event to showcase civilization's technology and specialties. So revealing all of their cards against a mere Earthling on such a stage means even winning would be a loss for them. Moreover, the metal that Twinkies is using is practically the heart for pixies. Using it against a first-level civilization would be considered humiliating. Back on his planet, they are considered the greatest iron craftsmen in the universe. Every pixie is born with a few hundred grams of iron in their body. By the 6th month of their birth, the iron will have solidified inside, and they expel it through a process called iron ejection. The iron expelled during this process is known as soul steel. Although it was a low-strength metal with little practical use, every pixie considered soul steel to be part of themselves, and their sacred guardian. But a few years later, the Galactic Alliance arrived. And the meaning of this iron ejection tradition changed drastically. Their peace-loving civilization, which always avoided conflict, was helplessly defeated in their very first ever GSP match. When it was broadcast across the universe, their peaceful civilization became a target of ridicule and scorn. Following that, their resources were plundered under the guise of trade. And unable to watch as people suffer any longer, the king began an unimaginable experiment. He forced newborns to consume metal for 6 months. He believed this accumulated iron would make stronger soul steel. However, over 70% of them were unable to expel the metal. And due to the irregular internal circulation, even the soul steel of the few surviving children was mostly unimpressive and low quality. However, there was the one person who developed extraordinarily strong metal. The beloved prince, Twinkies, endured the deadly iron ejection trial, becoming the master of the universe's strongest metal, eternal steel. We see another pixie congratulating him, saying that it's truly remarkable. Twinkies says that this is the result he forged through the trial, naturally, as expected. And they continue to treat him as if he was a normal kid, not telling him the truth, saying that they hope he has pleasant dreams. We hear some guards talking about how the prince didn't actually go through the trial, and they wonder what's the deal with the eternal steel stuff, saying that the king took it from someone else, and gave it to him. They talk about how unfair it is, as they risk their lives for it, and the other guy says that maybe he should be reborn as a prince next time. Twinkies overhears this, saying that there's no way that can be true, and they said that the metal formed after growth is the same as trial metal. He heads into the storage, but the one he ends up finding for his is a horribly low-quality metal. He says the composition is completely different, and then he wonders whose eternal steel he's been using all along. A few days later, he found a photo of a baby with the eternal steel he's been using, and it was the baby from the AIDS family, the guy who's been taking care of him, and he finally uncovered the truth about eternal steel. The aide then enters the room, calling out to him, and in a panic, Twinkies tries to tell him that he didn't steal it, and he didn't know. We see the aide's coffee cup smash into the ground, as Twinkies just accidentally turned his ass into a donut. He says that he didn't know it was him, and he never intended to use the power. He tells him that he's going to call a doctor immediately, but the aide tells him that there's something he must say. Twinkies tries to tell him that he'll listen later, but the aide says he has to listen now. He revealed that his grandson had died due to side effects shortly after the iron injection, and around the same time, the king, a longtime friend, heard of his situation, and handed him Eternal Steel. Whatever the truth may be, this ability for him to wield the Eternal Steel is the result of his hard work, and only his, and that he will surely be able to save their race. After that, help was brought, but the aide had passed away. Twinkies sat there gripping the Eternal Steel, and says from that day on, he made a decision. He will raise their civilization higher than any other, with his own ability, and with the grandson of the aide. Once more, Jinwoo begins regenerating, and Twinkies turns, saying there's no way, and this is impossible, as Jinwoo starts to hit the crazy Fentline. Twinkies says even as a third-level civilization, he's almost out of Cosmoforce, yet this first-level Earthling still has energy left, and Jinwoo begins to smile. Even Leviathan starts jumping on it, saying that it's crazy that the Earthling is rising once again. I'm wondering if there's no end to asking how long he can keep recovering. Twinkies also seems pissed by this, and then raises his hand, getting ready for his next attack. He forms a giant lance out of metal, and says that he's going to keep attacking him until he dies. But when he looks in front of him, Jinwoo vanishes almost instantly. He then is already in front of him, and Twinkies is taken by surprise, saying that his movements are completely different from before. Leviathan shouts out how his movement is reaching incredible speeds now, and Ackerman says that it's impressive, but it won't matter, as Twinkies' skin is tougher than most metals. But as soon as she says that, we see him get hit by a palm strike that sends his blood flying. He's actually managed to cut half the side of his face. Grog and Pannon stare at Ackerman, wondering what she has to say now. As Twinkies counters with the massive lance straight into Jinwoo's side, we see it piercing through half of his body. Twinkies takes a look at his cheek, this now swelling up, and blocking his vision. While he's distracted, Jinwoo runs in with a wild swing, sending him flying through the air. Of course, Twinkies' lance is still right behind him. Jinwoo actually bounces off of it, and soars through the air, before coming down with a kick straight to Twinkies' chest. Twinkies wonders if he was hiding his real strength all along. Jinwoo says he does not know what's going on, but the flow has returned, and he's going to end this quickly, as his hands begin lighting up. With Ki, we see a massive explosion throughout the arena. We see Lena watching the fight on the side, as Leviathan continues to shoutcast it, and she says that she knew she could count on him. Leviathan tells her to shut up, and stay out of it. Twinkies' friend starts to look worried, and yells out towards him. Ackerman says that she didn't think he was hiding his power, and this changes everything. As the Pixian strength lies in their brute power and defense, then they don't have the reflexes to block an attack like that. As Twinkies puts up a shield, barely in time to block Jinwoo's next attack, Pannon starts giving her that bombastic side eye, and, embarrassed, she says that she was only wrong once, and that he needs to stop reacting to everything she says. Jinwoo says this thing sure is pretty tough, before he gets pierced through the chest once more. Twinkies says that he should stop acting cocky, as, no matter how many times he rises, he'll never pierce his steel. As long as the universe's strongest metal is here, the result will not change, as Jinwoo is being held up by the lance, and the thorns that spewed out of it. Jinwoo now understands that it's metal, and he begins to use his own power. He recalls last time how he absorbed the cosmos force from that fat pixie, even when he tried crushing him. Jinwoo now lets out a big grin, as Twinkies has covered himself with a shield made of eternal steel. He says that his regenerative ability must consume energy to be activated, so if he can just endure this until he runs out, he'll be the winner. But Jinwoo starts to rip it apart, forcefully entering his way in. And Twinkies' friend wonders if he stole the power back then. Twinkies is completely taken aback, as we see his cosmos power being taken as well, and Jinwoo puts his palm on his head, and throws him out of the shield, so fast it breaks the sound barrier. Twinkies says that he can't believe the pride of their civilization has been pierced. Twinkies' friend yells out to him, saying that guy can manipulate metal as well. Twinkies can't believe it, asking how a Tier 1 Earthling is wielding not only their cosmos force, but, in general, how is he wielding more than a single cosmos force at a time? Twinkies realizes, though, this is bad, as Jinwoo is flying straight up with his new metal weapon. Twinkies starts to get pissed after witnessing it, and grits his teeth, calling him trash, asking how dare a lowly creature touch his steel. As it starts to get forcefully taken from Jinwoo's hands, Twinkies begins to fully equip it on his body, screaming that he'll never forgive him, as he is now turned into a giant suit of eternal steel. He comes in with a massive punch, which shatters the arena, but Jinwoo dodges it, saying that the armor isn't going to change anything from this fight. He says this, yet Twinkie slams down with another heavy blow, and it actually hits Jinwoo this time. He can't steal control of that metal from him, and Leviathan commentates how Jinwoo rips off his own head, and throws it, and it's a bold escape attempt using his extreme regenerative abilities. Jinwoo wonders what to do now, as the armor doesn't seem easy to pierce. He says it reminds him of something, as we hear a man laughing, saying that he picked the wrong opponent back when he was a child, and saying that if he wanted to ambush the invincible Iron King, the Dark Lord himself should have accompanied him, and he shall personally deal with him according to the way of martial arts. A man then steps up, asking him if he, the owner of one of the 7 great treasures of the martial world, is really trying to show off his strength in front of a child, and asking if his honor was just a baseless rumor. The dude in armor, who we learn is named Mei Yang Dal, asks who he is, calling him annoying for interfering. The person asks if he's nervous because he's not a child, and Mei Yang Dal raises his mace overhead, before swinging down. Jinwoo watches as he starts to get a good sight of the martial artist fighting, and he starts to copy it 1-to-1, saying that this is how it was dealt with. As he begins sprinting straight towards Twinkies, Twinkies comes in with another punch, and Jinwoo says, as expected. As he dodges to the side, he recalls how the martial master beat Mei Yang Dal, and he says that he made the right choice in learning that technique, as he consumed the martial artist right after. Jinwoo comes in with a punch, called the True Energy Shattering Fist, and we see it send out a massive shockwave throughout the back of Twinkies' armor. Everybody watches on, wondering what will happen, but we see there was actually no damage from the punch itself, and Twinkies begins laughing, saying there's no way he can pierce the steel, before blood begins pouring out of the suit, completely exploding out of every possible location. Jinwoo says it's definitely not an ordinary metal, but he seems to have forgotten something important. No matter how extraordinary a sword may be, in the end it's not the sword that decides, but the one who wields it. Jinwoo stares at Twinkies, who is no longer moving. As the armor is completely motionless, the observer stares at it. And Leviathan says that the verdict is out, and the contestant Twinkies is unable to continue the match. Twinkies' friend can't help but stare. Grog asks Ackerman if she saw that, as that's the power of a Tier 1 civilization, and if it were the guy from earlier, he would have died long ago. Ackerman walks down the hallway, saying that it's been roughly 15 billion years since the universe was born, and even if there is infinite cosmo force, she thought they'd seen all possible outcomes by now, wondering why is there no information about the Earthlings' peculiar phenomenon, and if they were unaware of it, even with their civilization's network, maybe it could be a new ability, or has someone intentionally concealed it. She laughs, saying that she's very curious about it. And then finally announces the winner, saying that it's Earth representative Jinwoo. Clarice, in disbelief, says that means Lena was right, and who would have expected for there to be such a monster among them, and right now they might be witnessing a historic moment. As Jinwoo is forming a blade out of the metal, Leviathan says that with this, representatives from 3 Tier 1 civilizations have defeated beings of higher civilizations in this tournament. Jinwoo leaps directly at Leviathan, and says that a strange energy of his has been bothering him since earlier. He was the one who stands at the zenith of this world. He uses an attack called the White Smoke Slash, landing directly behind Leviathan. He then sees the blade break, and he narrowly dodges it. As he turns straight into a skeleton, LMAO, I'm dead. Clarice is in disbelief, and Leviathan says that he retracts his statement. The match will now end as a draw, and someone should get rid of that thing. The observer says that the match he just broadcasted is ranked number 1 in viewership for its time slot. Leviathan asks if he heard that right, and the guy says that the live viewership of the match just surpassed 800 billion, and that he achieved the highest viewership among 5 other regions broadcasting matches, which means that there are multiple other gods, and maybe one of them gave Jinwoo his power. The observer tells him that it's been 900 years since the last time, and he starts going crazy. Leviathan says there's no way he'd be less popular than the other ones, as one of his men is picking up Jinwoo. Leviathan asks what he thinks he's doing, and the guy says that he just told him to get rid of it, as Leviathan screams just deleting him. Leviathan asks why he's being disrespectful to their star player, and he is the god of greed, is what we learn. Leviathan asks who they should entrust their star player with, and he says it's best to leave him in the care of someone from the same civilization. As one of the robots is saying surely she understands even if her whole civilization comes together she can't pay the price, yet, she broke such a valuable thing. She says that she wonders how the match is going, and it seemed like Jinwoo was leading. She heard that Twinkies is a powerhouse among all powerhouses, though. The robot asks if she's listening to it, and she just ignores it, saying that she heard all about his strength. He says that means she isn't, and another observer tells her to follow, as Leviathan says she should go take her representative. She asks why Leviathan himself is asking, and she starts running, wondering what that bastard did this time, and the robot says he's going to charge her for the cost. The observer tells Leviathan that he's brought the Earthling, and Leviathan says that he didn't call her for anything special. It looks like her representative is incapable of returning alone, as he floats an orb over containing Jinwoo's bones. He says even though it may look bad, they perform some first aid. If she carries him to the recovery room, he'll be fine. We see it zoom in on his head, before it jumps to him opening his eyes, asking where he is. Lena says that he really survived, and that ability is amazing. It was worth the effort to suggest moving after they attached the suppressor. Jinwoo asks why she's here, and what's with all of these things on him. She says that these are devices that aid his recovery. He asks who dares to help him, and she says that he needs to remember that they're the weakest civilization in the universe. As long as he's wearing that necklace called the suppressor, he's another Earthling just like her. He says that he'll get rid of them right now, and she says that he can't even get out on his own. He exhales, and starts closing his eyes to meditate, and she wonders what he's doing. Jinwoo says it's not like his blood flow is blocked, but he can't feel any energy throughout his body. And then she asks him how it feels to experience the tournament firsthand. He asks what she's talking about, and she says that he just participated as a representative of Earth, the tournament, asking him how it was, saying he really makes her want to fight more guys in the tournament. If he agrees, she'll remove all those devices right now. He tells her to shut up, and release him immediately. She says as expected it didn't work, and although it can't be helped, and it's dangerous, there's only one other method. She releases his arm, saying that she'll do it temporarily, and he instantly grabs her by the throat, saying that unless she wants to be ripped apart, to release the thing on his neck too. Marcel then enters the room, calling out to her, saying that he came because he heard someone was looking for him, but wonders what's going on, asking if she's having a lover's quarrel. Jinwoo asks who he is, and she says the thing around his neck is something he can't remove on his own, but she wants to make a bet. Jinwoo asks what it is, and she tells him that if he wins against that guy, she'll release the suppressor immediately, and never bother him again. But if he loses, he'll have to take his place, and compete in all of the remaining preliminary matches. At the cafeteria, as Jinwoo's pouring a purple goop onto his plate, he asks when they are going to fight, as he wants to be free of this damn restraint right now. Lena asks what he's even saying that they're here because he was hungry. He says that his stomach feels like it's about to burst, asking if they feel like this every day. She says he talks as if it's his first time feeling hungry, and he says it's not his first time, but it's been so long that he doesn't remember. She asks if people in the past did not even eat, and he says not everyone, but at least they were better than everybody from the future who's weak. She says that they'll see if he can still say that after fighting Marcel later. Jinwoo points over, asking if she's talking about this idiot, and she tells Marcel to speak up instead of just eating. Marcel says that he has over 40 black belts in martial arts, and he's trained in all sorts of lethal techniques from the military. He may have lost a limb or two, but it won't matter. Jinwoo says the outcome won't change whether he has limbs or not. Marcel calls him a bastard, and Jinwoo says he was just stating facts, so they should stop wasting time, and admit he's going to lose. Marcel says that he's the reason he lost his limbs, and Jinwoo says they should stop blaming his weakness on others. Lena just watches, thinking about something, and she says that since they are both full now, they should settle it once, and for all. They head to the 80th floor for the practice arena. She says that they can fight here without any interruptions, and Jinwoo says that they could have settled this back at the restaurant. She says the future isn't a violent era like the one he lived in, and he can't just fight whenever he wants. Jinwoo says that the future is full of nothing but cowards, and Marcel tells Lena to wait. She says they're cooperating because it's for the Earth, but this doesn't seem right. He got a little word tip earlier, but that guy did beat Twinkies. Even if he's restrained with a suppressor, he doesn't know if he can handle him. Plus, how can he compete in his condition, missing an arm and a leg? She says not to worry about everything since it's prepared. Lena says they have to set up a few things. Jinwoo says that she didn't just try to start a fight without a plan, and says the guy beside her seems scared, asking if he's okay. Later we see her opening something up, and Marcel asks what this is, and she tells him that it's his new leg, to try it. She says it might be a bit uncomfortable at first, but it'll automatically adjust to fit his body soon. Marcel asks if this is an artificial leg from the planet Artenos. She's surprised he recognized it immediately, and he asks how she got something so expensive. She says she used some of her savings, and Mark just wonders where the fuck all of his money went. She says that buying an arm would be too much, and Marcel says that he'll do his best even if it costs him his life. She says that he doesn't need to go that far, and Jinwoo just asks if they're going to fight because he's tired of this. Marcel tells him to wait as he's on his way, and Lena says she needs to tell him something before he starts. It then jumps to Jinwoo, saying that it's just a toy leg, wondering what they were preparing. Marcel tells him to shut up, as this prosthetic leg is not something he can just talk about. Lena says that he better not get too cocky. Jinwoo starts to get a little annoyed, saying that he's not the arrogant one here, and it's them, as he leaps directly at Marcel. Marcel raises his guard, saying that he's coming. As Marcel dodges backwards, and then under the next attack, Jinwoo readies another attack, and then comes in for a double palm strike, which Marcel also dodges underneath. He looks up, surprised, but uses the chance to counter, kicking Jinwoo in the head. As Jinwoo gets sent flying backwards, Lena is smiling. Marcel looks down at him, saying that it really worked out as she said. Back before the match started, she says that if he fights as he normally will, winning will be a piece of cake. Marcel said he'll do his best, but wonders what's with her confidence. She says that guy's physical abilities are worse than an average person's. Marcel asks how, and she says that the suppressor wasn't designed for lower-tier civilizations. Essentially most systems within this Galactic Federation don't account for lower civilizations like them, as they were made for the upper ones. To put it bluntly, it's like giving a mouse an elephant tranquilizer. Since he isn't using any martial arts right now, that guy doesn't know the capability of the suppressor, but once the fight begins, the suppressor will react strongly to control the force exerted. She walks over confidently. Marcel says that suppressors are generally used on second-tier civilizations, so how does she know about the side effects on a first tier? Lena says that in the past, the Galactic Federation also ignored, and turned a blind eye to that damn cosmic trafficking organization. While hiding quietly, she gained lots of info. Now that a master who can wield this weapon called knowledge has appeared, the alien bastard. They try fighting again, and Marcel knees Jinwoo in the face. As Jinwoo's on the floor, he says if only he didn't have this stupid necklace. And Lena says that she needs to leave soon, so they should end it here for today. Marcel looks down at Jinwoo, asking if this kind of training will really help in the next match. As just like Jinwoo said, if it weren't for the suppressor, someone like him would be nothing. She sighs, asking what he thinks the difference between higher civilizations are. He says it's the ability to use Cosmoforce. She says he's not wrong, but if he considers the bigger picture, it's the potential to grow by breaking the limits of common sense and physical limitations. For Tier 1 humans, things like fire erupting from their entire body, or instantly creating, are all beyond common sense, but for higher civilizations, such things are natural as breathing. Maybe if humanity advances to a higher level, the impossible might become possible, like flying through the sky with their bare bodies, or growing 8 limbs. And the way you measure this potential is through knowledge, corresponding to each civilization's ranks. The amount of knowledge accessible to higher civilizations is incomparably vast, and knowledge is ultimately about how you use it. If you don't try to learn, you might not even know your weaknesses, and end up losing. In Jinwoo's case, since the first match attracted tons of attention, there's a high chance that all of the information revealed in the match is already analyzed. Stuff like dodging, or defending, are supplementary for him. His fighting style is similar to aliens with regenerative abilities rather than humans, and it will definitely become a fatal weakness in his next match. Marcel says that it's sounding like she's starting to think of him as an alien rather than a human, but he is a human. She says that he shouldn't worry about that, that's just how he acts, as he is genetically 100% human. She made sure to check it when she had the chance, just in case. Marcel then asks why, even though they passed the first preliminary round, there is no change in them at all. She says changes will occur gradually, and he shouldn't worry. Principle of Civilization Advancement 1. The representative becomes a being at the next level civilization after winning a match. Principle of Civilization Advancement 2. Other members of the same species besides the representative do not immediately advance. Principle of Civilization Advancement 3. While the civilization representative maintains their ranking, the civilization gradually advances. In other words, the more Earth representative wins a match, the more likely they are to interpret laws beyond Earth's current scientific knowledge, and as a result they might be able to develop a miracle drug to save all of humanity. So the purpose of this training is to improve his power under various constraints. We hear Ackerman saying that it's strange, and it's nice to meet them, and she introduces herself as a not ordinary space journalist. Lena says she can tell that she is an Inforian. Marcel asks what that is, and Lena says they are creepy people who can look into others' minds with that pin-like tool. She's surprised that Lena knew about her, and then Lena asks what she wants after appearing out of nowhere, calling her strange, wondering what she meant by that. Ackerman says that her explanation just now was weird, since that Earthling's limits are already beyond a Tier 1 civilization. He's closer to a third level in that case. His current situation is probably like this. If what she said is true, then she would have felt a change the moment he was registered as the representative, but how about it? There has not been a single sign of it, so that means maybe this guy is maybe a separate entity from them. Lena then realizes Ackerman is now all the way over at Jinwoo, wondering what she crossed so far. Ackerman says that she can confirm the identity, and let her know, as she puts the pin towards Jinwoo. She says that it will be a secret that science couldn't uncover. Marcel puts his hand on Jinwoo's shoulder, telling her to step back, as they can't trust her. She wonders if she should lure him to a place where she can remove the suppressor, and take care of Jinwoo, but says there's no need to cause unnecessary commotion, as there's plenty of time. She says she understands, and they surely can't distrust someone they just met, but if they want to know his true identity, just let her know, as she's very curious about him too after all, and she finally takes off her mask. Would. She laughs, leaving the room, and Marcel wonders what Lena thought about that. Lena says that she's probably just talking nonsense because she's curious about Jinwoo, and wonders if they don't have any other choice. Their job is to bet everything on their last remaining hope, and somehow make him win his next match. We get a whole 15-day time skip, and it is now the second preliminary round of the Group 8 match. The first player to enter is Civilization ranking 5830th, and the player who passed the first round in record time. They're a mysterious civilization being with the ability to control their own cosmos energy, and a guardian deity who protects their planet by receiving energy from 400,000 of their kind. It is the representative of the trans-fairy civilization named Birkin. I can't tell if that's the big guy, or the little guy. It's the big guy, my bad. As his inhibitors get dropped, he lets out a primal roar for the crowd. Leviathan says finally they have a beast with a huge amount of power unleashed in the arena. Mark says that it's not a sight you'd see every day, and Lena says that their side is the same. Mark asks what she means, and Lena says that he'll see. As facing him is none other than someone from the lowest ranked Tier 1 civilization, he achieved the feat of defeating Twinkies, the universe's greatest metal controller. As Jinwoo, all injured, limps into the arena, Leviathan is confused as hell, wondering why he is in that state. Lena says that their side would be eye-catching too, and she warned him. Mark, though, just wonders what the hell is wrong with this lady, asking how she could do this to the representative. She says that this level of injury is nothing to him. As soon as Jinwoo steps into the arena, his inhibitors begin to get released. He starts to break out of his cast, and drops his cane, as he no longer needs them. Marcel says that it's truly an amazing power, and cheers him on, saying that he wants to see the results of his training. Jinwoo says that he can't believe these bastards humiliated him like this, and he'll definitely kill them. However, he made a promise, and he'll take care of this monster first, and then kill them after. Jinwoo looks down at his hand, saying that it's the same as before. His energy has returned, but the flow is twisted, so he can't use his martial arts. He wonders if he has no choice but to wait for the flow to recover like last time. The crowd starts cheering on their guardian, and Jinwoo looks over, and they are telling him to bite that guy, and save their planet. Jinwoo just wonders why the hell they are so loud. As the crowd continues to cheer, and chant Birkin's name over, and over. Leviathan says that the passionate cheer of his people fill the stands, but Birkin hasn't made any moves yet. Mark says that he is a warrior with the power of almost 1 billion, and the Planetary Guardian is a pretty impressive title. She tells him not to worry, as it's like the strongest man on Earth Marcel title. Mark claps, and says that he's glad it's like that. Marcel can't believe that she's throwing shade at him, but Lena says that he's definitely not an easy opponent, and that title is not exaggerated, but she hopes that it goes well. The guy who walked out with Birkin takes in the deepest breath of all time, and yells into a giant megaphone, telling the Guardian to unleash divine punishment. The sound makes people in the audience cover their ears, and Lena says that a thunderous sound means the fight is going to start. Jinwoo says that his eardrums might just burst if they keep that up, and this guy seems weird, as he doesn't feel a single bit of fighting spirit from him. But now, in an instant, he has completely changed, as he's closed the gap. He comes in with a punch that is a ginormous blue ball that explodes up towards the air, as his punch shook the entire arena. This is the true power of a guardian who holds the energy of an entire planet in his body, but the arena's energy barrier constricted it. His people continue cheering, and Leviathan says that the transference seems certain of victory, but Birkin's opponent showed his regeneration abilities from the first round. But for some reason, the match just ended in 3 whole seconds, and he doesn't know if Jinwoo's going to get back up this time. Lena anxiously bites her thumb, and begs that he does. And then she sees it, as Jinwoo is now right below him. It turns out that he didn't even get caught up in the attack, it was just his arm. That attack looks like it was going to exploit the weakness of regeneration users, and Jinwoo evaded it by using a completely different fighting style. Jinwoo says that the parts hit with his power aren't regenerating, it seems. Lena tells Marcel this means their plan works, and they high-five. Mark wonders what they're talking about, saying that dodging once doesn't mean everything, asking if they've gone insane. She says that it's natural not to understand, even they weren't sure this would work. As we see Jinwoo falling onto the floor, Lena asks Marcel if he notices anything different about him. Marcel says that it's not just different, even with the suppressor, he's slowly getting faster. Even though he's the one restrained, Marcel feels like his life is increasingly at risk, as he gave him a wound during training. Lena says that 2 weeks should be enough then, and he wonders what she means. She says that she's going to go report this to headquarters real quick, and they should keep up the pace that he's doing for the training period. Marcel just wonders what she's thinking about, he doesn't know, but for now he'll just listen to her orders. Jinwoo asks if he's just going to continue spewing nonsense, and it's not being delusional, as there's no way someone like him can train him. Marcel says that he knows exactly how pathetic he must look right now. Without the suppressor, he wouldn't even feel the slightest impact of his punches, and his attacks must seem so slow that he wouldn't bother dodging them. But just like how dripping water eventually cuts through stone, even attacks when repeated will hit eventually. At that moment, if his regenerative ability isn't functioning normally, even someone as extraordinary as him could lose everything just from a singular hit. But he guesses luck that bad only comes a few times in one's life. Jinwoo says that he can't believe that he's being helped like this. Marcel says with powers like that, there's no way Jinwoo would quietly listen to someone else's advice, and for them to call this training, and make him learn naturally was her goal in the end. And she says that that's true, after observing him for a while, for someone like Jinwoo who has a strong sense of pride, she thought this approach would work better than persuasion, or appeals. The most important thing in the fight against Birkin is to dodge the critical strike. Ackerman says that, for a Tier 1 civilization, they sure do understand the weakness of those with regeneration. So the reason for training in that old arena where the suppressor can't be removed was to fix the dependence on abilities, a chronic issue among regenerators. Normally, when there is someone who is near immortal, you wouldn't think of it as a weakness, anyone would see it as a strength, yet they had a surprisingly sharp observation. Unlike the first round where luck played a huge role, from the second match where information on the matches is made public, The abilities of the second in command play a crucial role, and it looks like Birkin's side hasn't prepared for this situation whatsoever. We hear Twinkies calling them a bunch of idiots, as we see he's made a full recovery, and he says no wonder, even with that power they remained a tier 2 civilization all this time, and it's more beneficial for him if the Earthling wins, but he doesn't want to see the guy win so easily. So he hopes that he can push himself more, calling Birkin the universe's strongest puppet. If you've watched till the end, comment, Dota, to let me know. Subscribe for more videos like this, leave a like or a comment to help the channel out. Thanks for watching.